Happy Saturday evening, guys. Good to see you all. How's it going? Hey, Richard, Randy, Jeremy, Larry, good to see everybody. Stuffy, hey, how's it going? So, it's been a good day, man. It was a beautiful day outside today. Got in a couple hives. I did a live stream earlier, looking at a couple hives, specifically hives that have Appy tablets on them. And man, I'm happy with the results. I really am, that I'm seeing, especially in that first colony, because that one had no other treatment or anything on it, and really has just totally flipped around. But I'm not planning to talk 100% tonight about Appy tablets, but if you have questions about it, you can get them at the website. Guys, total transparency. I have a website. I make money when you order off the website. 100% transparency. I'm not paid by the company. I'm paid after I buy the product and resell it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I invest my own money in the website, and that's it. So if there's any questions, feel free to hit me up. That colony, if you guys didn't see, if you haven't been following that video, Mark, thanks for that, buddy. If you haven't been following that chain of events on that, it's pretty miraculous. A miraculous flip around of that colony in 3 weeks. 3 weeks took it from broodless, mite infested, beetle infested, totally spun it on its head. It's got about 6 frames of brood of all stages, capped, eggs, larvae, pollen. It looks like it's going to make it through the winter, no problem. 3 weeks ago, there was 5 cap cells, no eggs, no larvae, no stores, nothing. So just an amazing flip around on that thing. So I have a whole playlist now, guys. That's it says Appy tablet, my experience. That's the playlist. And you guys watch it and get your own opinion. I've got no reason to lie about nothing, guys. I'm just showing you what's happening in my thing. And it started with Mamet sending me one of these, one sleeve. And as you guys know, I ordered those bottom boards for the beetles. And since I was out there manipulating colonies and putting bottom boards in, I'm like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and put one of these on top and see what happens. And forgot about it, really, because it's not sold as a mite treatment. It is a nutritional supplement for the bees. It's got essential oils, sugars, thymol, which if you're not sure what thymol is, it's actually thyme, like, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, THYME. It's a natural product, right? So yeah, it's just, it's one of those things that sometimes you got to go on faith of what you're doing, guys. I show what happens. I do a lot live because it's not edited. Yeah, they're long. I get it. They get a little bit long, and I talk a lot when I'm on there, and some people may not get it. But I'm showing what's happening, and you're seeing it as I'm seeing it. There's no cuts, no edits, no sponsorship agreement, nothing like that that's in the background. It's just me and the bees, and you're seeing what it is. So, I saw some comments by another YouTuber, and I don't want to get on a rant really this evening, but another pretty popular YouTuber that said how it's illegal to use for mites in the States, and then did a little bit of reading that the legal dose for oxalic acid is 1 gram, and it's only 1 gram of apibioxyl. So I guess you could say that if you're using any product other than apibioxyl, if you're using Florida Labs, you're illegal. If you're using more than 1 gram per brood box, you're illegal. You're not doing it as it's supposed to be. So that, but that's okay if they do it. But if you do it, oh my gosh, that's like the sky's falling. And that's just one of the things that I was kind of ranting on that video. Yeah, exactly, Jeremy. That's what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. Nobody does it. So everybody's guilty. So, but if you're not the person that comes up with the idea or the thought or something, you're wrong. But if they do it, oh, it's okay. It's okay then, is all I'm saying. so so that's just my whole point. So it's not it's I'm not better than anybody else, guys. I make mistakes. I do things, but I do them. Yeah. So I've said it before too. I make my thing when I vaporize like an ice cream. It's as high as it can be in there, right? It's not measured. I'm not measuring every dose. And I'll even say that if you're measuring every dose, you're lying straight out of the gate. Uh, you know, it, it's it's just sometimes when I get excited, guys, I get excited when I see something in the yard, like what happened with that colony. I go live and I show it right when I'm seeing it, and I'm excited, and I'm showing you what I'm seeing, and that's you know, and that's that's okay. Well, oh, exactly. That's the thing is you read the studies, and trust me, all day I've been reading studies, and it says that 1 gram doesn't show a mite drop, but it's the legal treatment. Yeah, 1 gram of treatment 8 times a day. That's it. I, so it's like it just shows the hypocrisy that I see and hear that gets pushed out and put on you. You know, nothing bothers me more than a YouTuber. Nothing bothers me more than a YouTuber that gets a product and puts a video out. And this is somebody else saying this, not me. Nothing bothers me more than a YouTuber who puts out a video on a product when it hasn't been fully tested. Tested by who? Tested by who? I didn't put out a video on a product, at least not this product, until I saw the mite drop. So that was unusual. That's why I showed it. So anyway, that's that. But anyway, guys, the link is up there if you want to come join and talk and have some fun. But I mean, that's the thing. So, um, you know, testing things and trialing them and stuff like that. That's all great. Right, that's it. I mean, and not for nothing, Appibioxal's not even a U.S. company. Appibioxal is an Italian well, the brand that nobody, it's hard to find, but it's actually an Italian company that produces it. It's called Chemical Laif, Laif. So that's the only legal oxalic acid to use in the States by the label. So, and here's another thing. This, using it with your honey super, the label says 1 gram will not show up in honey soup or in your honey if you use it by the directions. However, people are using 4+ grams per box. Has anyone ever seen a study? This is a question. Has anyone ever seen a study that says using over the label will that show up in honey? I don't know. So that's just a question I have. I went down kind of a rabbit hole after the thing. I mean, Randy, you had one of the most profound things to me. I think it was yesterday. You said you did a mic check on your colony, and it had a 0 shake, but it had 20 mice that dropped. So yeah, it's been kind of a thing that I've been watching. I keep receipts, guys. If you haven't noticed, I keep receipts. When I mean, I know what people have said and what they have done and what they have shown, and it just builds up over time. And probably one day I'll freak out and make this crazy video that shows all the hypocrisy that is in beekeeping. That basically, if it's not you that said it or came up with the idea, it's wrong, and that's not always the case. Jeremy, I get it, brother. Understand. Well, let me see. What do I have? So Apis Biologics, I used that prior to buying it, but I'll honestly say that what really sold me on the product to even try it was Ian Stepler using it. That was the first thing. And Appy tablets, I tried it and I saw the results, and that's when I ordered that. Probably the only thing on my website that I haven't really tried is the Ceracell Mite Check cups, but a lot of people do like those Ceracell Mite Check cups. So that was something that a lot of people were talking about. So I got that on the website. Other than that, you see my shirt. I make that here in this room. I make this product and I bottle it in this thing, in this room as well. So that's my own product. Honey Rustler, my own product. I mix and bottle that myself. So really not a bunch of products that are just out there that I'm selling products to sell products. They're products I like. And yeah, the only thing is that it's based on the tablets being consumed, right? So the tablets are having to be consumed by the bees. That's how they pass it around, right? All the oils. And so, guys, I don't brag about it, but and I thought about it today. I really thought about it as a parody of taking these signs and thing off the wall and putting my college degrees behind me. And yeah, that's why I haven't got a swarm. What? But but it's a hey Shane, and and it's just that's not me, guys. I'm not that guy. I'm not well, look at me, this is what I've done. That's not me at all. I'm just a guy just like you guys. We're just beekeepers. We enjoy beekeeping. Doesn't matter if you're an electrical engineer or you're a master in health science or if you're truck driver or ditch digger or whatever, work at Wendy's. It does not matter. We have a common love for keeping bees, and that's what that pulls us together. So I'm not looking for any YouTube brawls or anything like that. I just like hanging out with you guys. I like showing what's happening in my bee yard. If again, if you guys decide that you like stuff and you want to buy it and try it, great. All I'm saying is what's happening for me. And that one colony totally flipped around. Now you do have to kind of watch a couple videos to see that. I did do one that last week. I spliced it together, and let me see if I can give you what the name of that is. Oops, wrong one. Hold on, videos. Oh, it's actually called The Product That Saved My Hive. That's the one that splices together. The live streams with the YouTube or with the a GoPro footage of me doing the hive inspection. So that kind of catches you up till today, what happened today. So if you watch that one and then watch the one today, you'll kind of be up to what happened there. So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm, like I said, it's good times over here. I'm not beating my drum or downing anybody else. Do you? It's YouTube is a funny, fickle animal. Yeah, hey, I'm the same way, man. I'm always struggling trying to find out what's happening with my bees, and here it's different. I mean, it is. Oh, it's still there. It's still there. It's on lives though. You got to look under lives. That's the original live video. I just downloaded those videos off of YouTube and then spliced them into another video to show the whole progression. And probably yellow jackets, Richard. Probably little small yellow bees. But I'm sure we'll probably. I know Todd's still at his family reunion, his high school reunion. I talked to him, and today, I don't know if anybody's going to join me or not. Charlie, Saturday nights are kind of. Sometimes he joins, sometimes he doesn't. Brad, I don't know. Maybe I'm poisoned now. Nobody wants to join me because I kind of spoke out against hypocrisy and what people say and what they do are usually two different things in this community. Unfortunately, I really haven't changed. I just started kind of pointing back at people when, it's kind of like that little meme that's got the little kid doing like this, like, I see what you're doing here. Not a problem. Yeah, if you quit trying to be better, then you are backing up with your bees. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Brad. I don't know what happened with that. I've got a lot of people that ask me that, and I don't know. That's right. Hey, Brian, why don't you pop on and tell us about cider days? Hey, Earl, good to see you, DC. Man, I'm glad we're getting a full house. We're up to 44 people, and they're just watching me. I ain't got nobody over in here yet. Brian's probably tired from cider days, though. He may not want to jump on here. People wonder why I do Saturday nights later, guys. I do Saturday night streams later, specifically to try to help incorporate West Coast and people out in Mountain Time into the stream, because I know when we start at 8, it's only 5. They still have to eat and everything. Hey, Brian, how's it going, buddy? Oh, you got your ears lowered. Look at you. Can't hear you.
Clean up. Got to clean up for the big weekend. Yeah, so this weekend is it's cider days. It's our big harvest festival for our town. So I can only stay for a couple minutes because I gotta put stickers on jars. I gotta restock.
So how long is the festival? All weekend? 2-day festival?
Yeah, today and tomorrow. So we had to set up yesterday. So I went there yesterday afternoon, set up the tent, and then it was 10 to 5 today, and then 10 to 5 tomorrow. Yeah, well, it's a long day.
How'd you do
good.
today?
Yeah, we did really good.
Nice.
This is our 3rd year doing this event, and I think this was our best day out of all those so far. So usually what we do is we work really hard the first day and then try to just kind of sit back and relax the second day.
And so kind of start condensing, so at the end of the day you're already loaded up, ready to go.
Yeah, less boxes to bring back home, that kind of thing. But I do have to restock. We sold a good amount of honey today. We sold a good amount of comb honey. We did some comb honey, so that was good. Saw some old friends because it's right in the town that I live in. Right. So saw some old coworkers. That was fun. Some ex-students, that kind of thing.
Is the so when they come up and they're like, "Hey, Mr. Savada,"
they always called me Brian.
Oh, really? Your students called you Brian?
This was a school where all the adults were on a first name basis. They knew the principal as Scott. Every single kid from a kindergartner to a senior in high school called our principal Scott.
Really? Well, yeah. I guess that's a different way to looking at it. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
so
usually
I
missed
taught
the
at a
road.
school, Bob, that was it was created by a bunch of hippies back in the 70s that were looking for something different. They took this proposal to the local school board, and the school board was like, "Sure, we'll give it a shot." So it's evolved over time, but it's got a lot of that philosophy in it. And the philosophy is like, it's not a name that builds respect and trust. It's how you treat someone and how that person treats you back. So it doesn't matter if it's Mr. Zavada or it's Brian. They're going to
Right,
be a jerk to me if it's Mr. Zavada and I treat him terribly. So
right. Well, that's true.
so it was nice. It was a good school. A little hippy dippy, and it was very big on community, very low on organization kind of stuff. So
Like a
if you
Jim
were
Jim
like,
said, he got $60 for honey and $60 for 2 chickens today.
nice. Right on. We even sold a shirt today. We got these new shirts put out that are just the queen and bee. And we always think it's a good day when we sell a shirt.
Hey, I had someone show up and I was on the phone and they're like they pull up in a Jaguar F Pace, right? So they're a little, you already know they're a little uppity when they get here, right? And they're like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, and then like two seconds later, and I just happened to be filling up my feeder with the bucket, right? I was carrying it over to dump it, and man, about 3 times he's just laying on the horn. And I turned around and said some few choice French words to him, and I'm like, I don't give a damn if you buy my goddamn honey or not. Oh, sorry, guys, I forget on live sometimes, but
So was that after your video or before?
oh, that was after, yeah. So
Okay.
I was out there just feeding him, and I walked down there, and he's like, I want the biggest jar you got. I'm like, $30, and I walk and go get it, and $30, So that's kind
Nice.
of my honey story for the day. But it's just like, man, you're first of all, you're at my house on my property, right? And you're
Yeah.
just laying on the horn. It's like, you know, worst case scenario, get your ass out of the truck and go knock on the door. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
If you don't see any, knock on the door. It's a house. It's not I don't have a business. Charlie,
Hey, Charlie.
Hey,
we
Brian.
got you for about 45 minutes before you get your phone call and got to leave.
Something like that.
And
Yeah, we had our first frost this morning. I woke up to a light frost on my car. So I saw Russell's got 36 degrees this morning.
It
Hey, Shane. Here, tomorrow morning is supposed to be in the 50s. It's getting cold right now.
Earl was the one on the phone with me when it happened. He says Bob was yelling at him. I was letting him have it. I'm like, you don't see me standing right here.
Nice.
I can hear your damn horn. I should have
So,
walked
Bob,
up and been like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you here.
Bob, regarding your video and your topic to start, there's always going to be people out there, and you've always been transparent about what you know and what you believe about products. And, I've kind of been one of those people that's been patient and sat back and kind of watched the data gather in. But my advice to you is just forget them. There's always going to be people out there that hate something you do.
Unfortunately, like I'll do a video and I'll show what I'm seeing, and what I'm using and what's happening, and then I'll be watching another stream and somebody will ask those people about the product that I'm showing them the results for, and these people don't know crap about it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what response they're looking to get from those people. And then you got a big name guy that's making probably $500,000 a year on holding conferences and stuff like that. And he throws his ring in the hat there, and he hasn't tested it. But it's just like, because those type of people, when I say those type of people, I'm not meaning that as a degrading thing, but for some reason, they are held way up here on a pedestal because they're a YouTuber who have kept bees and they talk a big game. But when you break it down, any of us, it doesn't matter, me, Charlie, you, whoever, if you look at the person as a person, if it was one of your buddies and one of your buddies walks up to you and says, I wouldn't do that because of this, you'd be like, what the hell does he know? He was the damn truck driver a year ago, and now he's telling me what I'm supposed to be doing on my, you know what I'm saying? That's the real Bob that sits back and says, shut the hell up. You know, that's just me. That's how I put it out there, you know, and that's just me. That's how I put it out. And, you know, I apologize if people don't like it, but you know, there's a unsubscribe, there's a go watch another channel. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Nobody's holding your arm behind your back and telling you to use something.
You got flack with Apis when you were really enthusiastic about it too, and you came on your show and all you wanted to talk about was Apis, and people were like, "All right, what else are we going to talk about?"
Right. Well,
they have the power of driving that too. They can come on and talk about stuff too. So,
well, I just boiled it down to this: the only common denominator on these two products that I've talked about, and products that the other channels and YouTubers talk about that they get really excited about, it's always really exciting with a code, or really exciting with this or that, right? Or you can order it. I don't know who this guy is in the back here that's getting ready to pop up, so I'm not popping him up into the chat until I get a video feed, because last time we popped something up like that, we got surprised, and so they will sit back there until we see a feed. And so I apologize, Mikey, until we see your video feed. I'm not going to allow you into the stream. But but yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, is that it's like, if you say, and I don't know if you saw the video I'm talking about, I'm not going to point the video out, but there was a video out with a certain company, and about an hour and 25 minutes, and it was 2 days ago, about an hour and 25 minutes in, the statement was made, oh, they're illegal for mite treatments in the United States, but they kind of skirt around that because it's a supplement, right? And in the same breath, he said, well, I've got some commercial beekeepers that are using this off label, and we typically use 4 grams of oxalic acid per box. 4 grams of oxalic acid per box is illegal. Yeah. It's illegal. The legal dose is 1 gram per box. That's what the label says. That's what it is. So if you're doing that, and not saying we all don't do it, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is the person that was casting the stone is breaking the law. So that's the whole point of that thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, and you're right. Yep.
So that's the
is it 1 or 2 grams? I thought it was 2 grams.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. And I might have missed it, but I did a pretty extensive rabbit hole search of the product that is the only product that's legal to use in the United States for oxalic acid is Apibioxyl. And Apibioxyl has an addendum that refers you back to directions on the original label, which says 1 gram. But the addition says you can use it in the honey supers at the directed level. At the directed label of 1 gram. So, so that's the whole thing that that is kind of like, yeah, you can't do that in my world. Either it's legal or it's illegal. So if you're going to say I can't do something because it's illegal, then how can you turn around and in the same statement say that it's illegal?
So I'm excited to see these creaming machines you keep talking about and your new product line, Bob. I don't know. Hey, Mikey. Is it Mikey or Mickey? I don't know if he can hear us yet.
It might take him a second.
Yeah.
Well, we'll hope. So that's just kind of the thing. I mean, and you guys don't know the depravity that goes through my mind I mean, what I ended up doing and what I wanted to do was it was very diluted down by the time I actually made the video. I mean, that's all I'm saying, is that it was going to be a lot harsher than what it could have been. So, but it's can you hear us, Mikey? Is it Mickey or Mikey?
I don't think he can hear us.
No.
I don't think he can hear us. We can hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Charlie, how you doing?
Good. What was all that about?
That was his Windows. Probably he unplugged his USB and plugged it back in. You've been on a computer too long when you know all the little sounds that the computer makes. No, it was not a master beekeeper. Now here we go. What was it?
It's like 20 questions.
That's kind of a poke after me.
It wasn't even a certified master beekeeper.
That's funny.
So it's just, life is. I don't understand why beekeepers are so dramatic, though. I don't get it. It's like, if you're on here, if you follow us, we joke and cut up and poke fun at each other and rib each other. Was it a short beekeeper? Was it a tall beekeeper? I'll say it wasn't a tall beekeeper. Matter of fact, it was to the point that I almost went and lit my tickets on fire today.
Don't do that.
And then I was like, but then I wouldn't see Charlie and I wouldn't see Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the it was like,
and think of all the networking you can do to sell Appy tablets there.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing is that I was sent a picture from Mehmet with the specific beekeeper. They were at breakfast and they were like, doing the thumbs up and all that, selfie moment. So it's really quite, and you can have an opinion on a product. I don't care. That's not what it's about. It's about the very distinct jab when someone says, "Oh, I think it looks just like a urinal wafer."
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder where you heard that from. Just saying, coincidences are very large in those statements, but.
So I don't know anything about the laws in Europe and how they get products to the market. I know it's a pain in the ass here in America. Like, has he talked about studies or how they, have they had to do studies to get it to the market in Europe?
It was told. Oh, that's M&J Habitat.
What?
That's who Mikey is. He put it in a private chat. So
okay.
Hey, can you hear me, Bob?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We didn't know if you could hear us because we were talking to you and you were typing on the board there.
I've never done this before.
Well, hey, I'll tell you this. You did it 97% better than everybody else who pops in for the first time because there's no loop coming back through.
Okay.
Out of the gate.
I have a question for everybody.
Go for it. Do our best.
Anybody having massive yellow jacket problems?
I am.
I have yellow jackets. It is incredibly crazy. I'm trying to feed my. I have Man Lake top hive feeders.
I do too.
I do too. When I pull the lid off of my hives,
they're full of bees.
Full of yellow jackets, Charlie.
Yeah.
And they're
now a friend of mine, he went to Home Depot. He's a carpenter and he had the same problem last year, but it was his honeybees got in there. And what it amounts to is your telescoping cover is not totally flat on that feeder, and they're crawling up and into the feeder and drowning, of course.
No, they're alive. They're alive.
Well, some of them are alive. I've actually, they've sucked the honeybees have sucked the sugar water out,
And they're empty.
and you have this pile of either semi-alive or dead yellow jackets, and you're scooping them out of the darn thing and throwing them out on the ground and stomping on them. But his cure for that is go to Home Depot or Lowe's or your local hardware store, get yourself some 3/8 by 3/4 inch wide what do you call it, door molding or seal, what do they call it? Yeah, seals. You know what I'm talking about? I got it. Huh?
Like the foam strips to seal
The
your
foam, that's
leather
what I'm
stripping.
talking about. The foam strip where you peel the tape off one side sticky.
Correct.
And
weather
he went all the way around the top of that top high feeder. So when you put your lid on there and maybe you put a brick or something on top, it'll squeeze down and seal that thing solid. And if they can't get in, you know, and all that.
Well, I had a homemade cover that I built 5, maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was made out of plywood. Now they painted it, primed it, whatnot.
And it twisted or whatever.
It started lifting. The plywood was coming apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out there to go feed the bees at night, and it was just, there had to be 300-400 yellow jackets in there. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that. And then when I'm trying to feed, like I'm going down that line right behind me there, you know, I'm suited up because here I got my pumps running and my hose is going, and the yellow jackets are on my hands. They're on the tip of the hose nozzle, you know, trying to get a drink or the liquid will catch them and throw them into the feeder and all that kind of crazy stuff. And I try to get out there within 45. It takes me a little good time to feed, so I get out there after a little after 6, and usually it's real close to dark, and it reduces that robbing frenzy a little bit. And
a lot of people are talking about the foamy material, right? The Reflectex too. You could put that in your inner cover, and that it does give that cushion as well to kind of put down.
You could either do that or like I say, on what he did was, and I haven't done it yet. What I did to temporarily take care of it, I took my inner cover and I put that on top of the feeder. Then I put my telescoping cover on, and then I made sure I ratcheted it down so everything is tight, and that reduced the bee drowning or them getting in there as much as possible. Now the nukes behind me there, they have an inner cover, and the guy who makes the inner covers, he puts that notch up here, which I despise. It's supposed to be an upper entrance or a ventilation shim or whatever you want to call it.
I've got that. I've never seen bees fly out of there unless they were trying to sting me.
Exactly. And to me, it's a waste of it. Just, I don't like it, you know, especially when I'm trying to, let's say if I'm trying to feed that nuke with a quart jar and I put a box up on top of that to cover the quart jar up. Now you got that stupid hole there so they can get out the front. Well, then I got to take some tape and tape it up so they don't get in. So, but what I do with that is I make sure I use the Lyson top hive feeders for those nukes, and it happens so the inner cover will fit right very snugly over the top of that lip, and then I put my my telescoping cover back on, and I make sure I slide it back that shuts that hole off, and then I ratchet strap them down, and that seems to work. Weather stripping, that's what I was trying to get out. It's 3/8 by, it's either 3/8 by, let's see, 1/2 inch, I think, weather stripping, or 3/8 by 3/4 weather stripping. And then I haven't done it yet, but you know, he put it around the perimeter of the box, and that I only have that. Let's see, I got 2 hives or 2 feeders with, I'll say I won't say it's the feeder, it's the lid that has that issue. And I ratchet strapped them down so where they draw that lid down tight on there. So it seems to be working. But yeah, the yellow jackets are out there, something fierce.
I put that lid in the burn pile tonight, and I went all over town. I probably spent 2 hours driving around town today trying to find somebody that had something. And I ended up at the local TSC store, and I found one top cover that actually had the metal top on it.
Yeah.
It was a Honey Lane Harvest top, and it cost me $40 for what we used to pay $21, $22.
Yeah, I think the going rate anymore is somewhere around the $30 mark.
If you go on the internet, I saw them as high as $76.
Nah, forget that.
Where are you located?
I'm east of Columbus, Ohio, about 30 miles. I'm west of Greg.
So you're up there by Randy Klingen and by Robert Raymondetta. They're
Isn't
all up
Tom around there too?
Tom is up there.
I'm around Buckeye Lake, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Greg is 20 miles to the east of me.
Well, that's
Brian at Castle Hives is probably 80 miles to the northeast.
I was born in Akron.
I'm in Central Ohio. I'm in Licking County.
So you're for the
I should have went to Greg's, I guess, and got yourself a lid.
Well, I didn't have time to get down there today, and I went out there to feed, and it was just insane. And I was looking for a quick fix.
Yeah.
Well, it would have probably almost been just as quick to buy a piece of another piece of plywood and cut it up, right?
Well, I haven't had real good luck, Bob, making homemade plywood lids.
Yeah, migratory covers.
I sealed one with that spray stuff that they do with the screen bottom boat Flex Seal.
Right.
And on the inside, it never dried out. It sealed the top of the box cover to where the moisture couldn't leave, and that box actually rotted because that moisture could not escape. So that didn't work. And then I went to the primer and the outdoor, enamel paints or whatever they are, and it lasted for 5 years. But when it fell apart, it come apart fast.
So the last ones I bought, I bought them at migratory covers from Man Lake. It was already treated with copper naphthenate. I assume it's copper naphthenate. It's green. It's just like your privacy fence or treated lumber you buy at the hardware store, right? And it's showing.
I have a couple of those.
They are $22.95 for a 10 frame. And depending on how many you're replacing, I think it's a 150. Over 150 is free shipping. So, so that's what I started doing is replace them. But they do kind of warp and bend and do craziness, especially for me, because when I stack them up, you're stacking them with those dog ears and they all line up. So now the natural weight of the wood puts a bow in it, which raises up those ends slightly, right? So do what?
The honeybee compound.
He could probably see the lighthouse from only 20 That is.
Yeah, you got the beacon going,
that is funny.
It's actually about a 25 or 30-minute ride down the back roads. And when I say back roads, we're talking dirt. They turn to gravel. They get really narrow. And I can get right to Greg's from here.
Does Ohio still have a 55 miles an hour speed limit on the highways?
You can't drive 55 down them roads, Bob.
No, if you go around 40.
I know that last time I was in Ohio, it seemed like all of the highways were still 55 miles an hour.
No, they're 70 now.
70. Okay, they did bump it
You
up.
say, where are you at Lake Buckeye?
I'm north of Buckeye Lake, about 10 miles.
In North Ohio.
I'm in North Ohio, not Newark, New Jersey. North Ohio.
North Ohio.
Nerk, N-E-R-K, Nerk Ohio.
I see Lloyd Corners.
That's on 13. You need to come a little further north.
Hey, thank you.
Find 161 and 13 and 37.
Robert says he'll be in Newark in the morning.
Yeah, I see 161. Yeah.
So you must
Right
be
through
close to Robert.
Granville and North.
That turns into 16, not 13.
So Robert over in the chat says he'll be over in your town tomorrow.
Listen, it's 161 to 16.
Yeah.
Is he buying bee stuff or?
I don't know. There's about a 10-second delay from when we say something live and they get it on the feed and then they can respond back to it. So it's a 20-second round circle. He's in Cardington, Ohio.
Cardington. I'm not sure where that is.
It's north of Columbus, I believe.
Very small town.
And
A lot of small towns up here.
you got
It's,
three major cities and then you've got country. It's pretty much.
Yeah, Columbus is the big city.
Oh,
If I want to go to the VA, I got to go to Columbus.
he says bee truck, so he must be buying a bee truck down there. Nice, or getting one.
Nice.
Brian's reading. What are you packaging, Brian?
It's just jarring cream
Labeling up
honey.
jars.
Yeah, I gotta work. I got another day tomorrow.
Multitasking over there.
I can't sell creamed honey if I don't have it. Had an issue today with our tasting station. So this event is in a park, like 3/4 of a mile, like that way, right? Really close to our house. And the 4-H keeps bees there. They have 3 honeybee colonies there. And we've done this event this is our 3rd year now. So we've kind of learned the ropes of these honeybee colonies because we used to take our observation hive there. So the one year we took our observation hive, had a whole bunch of bees coming to check us out. I had to shut it down. Like I didn't even bring the observation hive the next day. So today at our tasting station by 3 o'clock, we had to totally shut our tasting station down, put all the jars in the cooler because there's like 50 bees flying around our booth.
Yellow jackets.
Hey, Mikey, Randy's in Mansfield.
Well, that's a little north of here.
Not far.
Tell him to stop by and I'll give him Dur honey.
Hey, Randy, how many colonies are you running now this year? I know he's got a bunch.
I think it's what, 150 or more.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm only running 7 here, Bob.
Well, the good thing is by knowing where these people are located, if they're close to you, then, you can maybe work together. If you find the sugar deal or you find this or you find that, maybe it's something that you guys could. Oh, he's got 45 this year. Silver Gorilla has a bunch.
I just went through a big sugar deal yesterday. Rural King is up here locally, and they were advertising $5.99 a pound for a 10-pound bag of sugar. I go to Rural King, and there's not even a skid where the sugar's supposed to be. They go out back. There's no sugar in the store, and I ended up at Walmart for $17.84 for a 25-pound bag.
Randy sold 100 of them to a guy in California.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I guess Todd must have bought them.
Yeah, somebody went in there and bought all the sugar because the guy up in Knox County, a little bit north of me, he bought 500 pounds up there, and I'm sure that's a skid of sugar.
That's only 10 bags.
Yeah, it's like 59 cents a pound. Yeah, 59
Well, he
cents.
was saying 10-pound bags, so it might come 500 to a thing.
Yeah, was it 59 cents a
69 cents.
pound or an ounce or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's a pound. It's
Well,
You
that's
say-
cheaper than most places.
yeah. I think I
Was
paid.
it-
I think I paid 65.
Yes.
I was in my grocery store yesterday and they had sugar that was about 55 cents a pound on sale, but it was in 4-pound bags.
Yeah,
So I was like, forget that.
Forget that.
So that 25-pound bag, Mikey, that's about what I get at Walmart, 17 something, or even at our grocery store.
What is it?
That's about
17
we're
what,
getting.
Mike?
94.
It was like 1784 or something,
Yeah.
1789.
And you'd think places like Costco, you'd get better prices, but not
71.
here.
Well, you
71
can't
cents
because
a
Ian
pound.
bought it all.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Ian
a-
bought all the Costco sugar in everywhere.
Well, the closest place I can go to get bulk is in Cleveland. And then you're going to need like a flatbed truck and, you know.
What are you buying? I mean, is that in bags or what?
Well, there's a sugar mill up there, Charlie. So,
Will they actually sell it to you?
well, there's a thing that says you can send them a message and contact them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, if it isn't a tractor and trailer, they're not.
Well,
even gonna talk to
Robert
you.
did finally get somebody over at the company he was contacting, and
Well, that's good.
they agreed to sell him a tote. He had to buy a tote or something like that, and really good price on it. I mean, so it's mine. I'm over half. I probably got a third of a tote left.
Hmm.
I mean, they are. I might have to go get another tote.
That's right.
And
I'm telling you, Bob, you could be the traveling cert, man. Just travel around, load up people's buckets.
You know why I don't? I'll only do that for people that know me and want to come get it. Because otherwise, excuse my French, but it's too much bullshit. Because someone will be like, "Will the bees eat it? Is it good for them? Is it going to ferment? Is it going to go bad? Is there a scientific study posted by the EPA that it's okay to use sugar syrup from Domino?" I mean, already know the explosion of BS comments that are going to come across that you'll have to answer. I'm like, look, I don't need to sell the sugar. My bees will eat it. You can either come and get it or it don't bother me.
Well, that's like when you said about that, about spilling buckets, and I'm like, you're going to need that tote, to do your hives right, to get your,
Oh, it's so much easier when I can put a bucket under there, open the tap, fill it halfway up, close it, go fill it full of water, dump it in there, done. Or take the jars, fill it right up from the tap, put it right on the hive. So easy to do it.
But Charlie, you're mixing with a drill and a propeller.
Yeah, well, that's the agitator. It's a stainless steel rod, and it's got a propeller. I don't know. It's about 4 inches in diameter. It came out of what was told to me, some type of a Hobart food mixer. I'll say like a lettuce mixer or dryer or something. I don't know. But anyway, we stuck that on, and it's sitting on, when it goes down into that 55-gallon drum, it's on an angle. So it's kind of like pulling the water like in a circle fashion. And then it'll actually, if you really squeeze the handle where it gives the drill the fastest possible speed, it'll sit there and make the water kind of boil or bubble up or whatever you want to call it. It does what it needs to do. I mean, the thing I do is I heat my water. Most people don't, and most people mix it cold, or like what's the guy up? Is it Darren, the beekeeper in Tennessee, or is it Jason?
Oh, I can't remember. It's not
Jared, isn't it Jared?
Jared, yeah.
Jared, he had it, and where he filled his 55-gallon drum up with hot water out of his hot water tank. And then he,
Off the drain valve on his hot water tank.
well, I think he teed it or something. I'm not sure. And he had a pretty nice setup where he filled it up, so much gallons of water, hot. Then he went to the same local store that you're talking about with 10-pound bags. He put X amount of bags into that thing. And then he had I think it was a diaphragm pump, probably about a 4 or 5 gallon per minute pump from Tractor Supply. And he just kept circulating it. And that was his agitator, you might call it. And, it pretty much, I'll say, dissolved the sugar in the water and agitated it and all that. And then he had a directional valve where he pumped it right out in a hose with a gas nozzle on the end. And he filled his 51-gallon top buckets for his top hive feeders on his migratory covers. And I've seen it that way. I've seen it where they use I'll call it a trash pump type submergible trash pump from Home Depot, where they plummet and up and across and then back down, and then the other one going back into the bottom of the drum. It's got like about a 45-degree angle on it, so it creates that circle motion of swirling the water around. And they mix it that way. You can mix it cold or mix it hot. I always like.
I do that, Charlie. I have a quarter horse sump pump.
Okay.
With 3/4 PVC piping. Then it goes into a 5-gallon bucket. It comes up, does the 90. I have a T in it for
garden
a half-inch garden hose.
Right.
Fitting, and then it goes back down with the 45-degree angle, and it swirls the bucket. And I mix 20 pounds of sugar and 2 gallons of hot water. And what happens is that pump gets hot from running, and it actually heats that water up to where within about 40 minutes, that sugar is completely dissolved, and you just unplug the pump and let everything calm down and pull the pump out. And I've got basically 4.5 gallons of 1-to-1.
Yeah. Now, like say the Texas beekeeper, he need to get a 55. Oh, it's actually a 55-gallon drum, whether it be plastic or steel, and a trolling motor, I would say. And he's tired of doing a 15-gallon pot. I've never seen it. It must be a pretty good sized commercial pot. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt. The main thing of it is, what I used to do it like Robert was on here. He was doing it on his kitchen stove. I did it that way when I had about 4 to 6 hives. Yeah. And I would sit there and spend hours, 4 to 5 hours in the evening. And I would try to get 5 or 6 5-gallon buckets full of syrup ready to go for the next day. And the next day it's all gone. Yep. Because you filled up like those, I call them the 10 frames from Man Lake. I think they hold around 4 gallons. There are like 2 gallons on each side. And I'd fill all them up, and boom, your buckets are all full. And so I, like I said in my original video on my mixing machine, I had all these different things. These components were all given to me, and I had a welder guy that, fixed the stuff up for me. And that's what I've been using for, I don't know, 5-6 years or more now. And it works. I make 40-gallon batches. Tractor Supply wasn't close to me at the time. Had to go up into Pennsylvania, and they happen to have a 40-gallon sprayer tank. Somebody bought it, $200 tank with a pump already built on it with a wand and everything. They wanted one with booms, kind of like a sprayer rig for like a tractor or something. And I got it for like half price. I think it was like $90. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. I haven't seen that size tank since then from either Tractor Supply or Northern Hydraulics or Northern Tool. And and I mix up 40 gallons, and then I put the 40 gallons in the tank, and I just drive alongside my hives here and just pump them off. The main thing that I did actually it was earlier last year. Prior to that, I used to use a car battery, and it had 8 alligator clips on that thing. So the batteries got gone and they wore out about charging. So last year I went down to Home Depot or Tractor Supply and got a set of trailer plugs. And you got the round plug for like brakes and lights and all that kind of stuff, electric brakes.
7-way plug.
Yeah, it's a seven connections or whatever it is. And then you got the little one for the little trailer, which is a
4-way boat plug.
Just for lights and turn signals, and that's it. So I got one of those. I spliced that into the cable that goes into that pump on that sugar tank, and you plug it in the back of your truck, turn your marker lights on, and now you got constant electricity to that pump, and you don't have to worry about charging anything. It's right there. And I just go right down the row here. Normally I'll take 40 gallons and I got 30 some hives, and usually takes around 40 gallons to fill all them in one night or one evening.
I'm feeding both 2-to-1 and 1-to-1. And it's kind of interesting because most people this is why everything's regional, right? It's for your area. I can still get away with feeding 1-to-1, but the 1-to-1, they don't store. They'll use it. And I've seen the bees in my colonies that are having the little white wax coming out of the back of them where they're still making wax. They're still drawing comb out here using the 1-to-1. But when I wanted to put weight on the colonies, I slapped 2-to-1 on it, and they started storing that because it's so thick. I guess it doesn't take as much to satiate their hunger, and they start plugging it away, and it's really starting to put weight on those colonies. But then when they start getting full, if I keep doing that, I don't want them to start backfilling the brood nest. So then I go and start feeding the 1-to-1.
Yep.
I'm not recommending this for you guys up north because I'm just saying what I do here.
Well, that's what I was just going to get ready to say is the fact that, what's your daytime temp? 75?
It was 82 today.
82. Okay. Our top temperature here, I think, was in the 60s.
And it's 57 right now. So,
it's 51 degrees right now. And I think we will barely get out of the 50s tomorrow during the daytime.
We were 54 today, Charlie, with a low of 40.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It might get into the 40s tonight. I'll look here at the weather right quick.
But next week, we're going to warm back up into the 60s.
Yeah, it's supposed to get into the 40s tonight. And then the highs might be 58 degrees tomorrow. And that's by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, winter's around the corner for me. And I normally start feeding my hives, so I'll say a week or two after Labor Day. I want them to be able to dry the sugar water down so they can cap and don't have the moisture in the hive. And then by the middle of October, I should be done. And they're right now, I've been feeding pretty strong and steady for the last week or two. Yeah, so see, this is the first week of October. It's been at least 2 weeks. I've been feeding for 2 weeks, and I see signs of them slowing down considerably. Where instead of me going out there every evening and those tanks are completely dry, now they're like maybe they might have an inch in the bottom of them, or some of them might have a half of a feeder full.
Hey, Jose.
I've been feeding a half a gallon per hive in a Man Lake top feeder. For the last week, I give 80 pounds of sugar. And I just bought another 100 pounds last night. And I went in tonight and I hit my biggest hives and I filled 1/2 of that 4-gallon feeder.
Right. That's what I do. That's because I don't have enough feed. I don't have enough tank capacity to fill both sides.
Correct. So, I'm doing 4.5 gallons. I got to do a batch every night. But
That's
tonight,
right.
I had
Exactly.
3 hives out of 7 that still had syrup. So
So
they're
they're,
getting
they're
full.
slowing down.
They're slowing down. They're getting
But on
full.
the other hand, it's also cool, and they're not going
Getting
to take
colder.
it down.
Yeah. We're going to have some cold nights.
See, that's the problem. Most people, especially a new beekeeper, gets into is where they want to think human as far as the temperatures go, and they got to think like a bee. The bee is preparing 2 months ago for winter. It's like in August we had the spotter and lanternfly here. Not as bad it was last year. This is very minimal amount of those bugs around, but there was enough honeydew coming in that they filled pretty much my top supers on my 10 framers and also a lot of them in the nukes in August. So here comes September rolling around with Labor Day, and people say, well, there's a lot of them get into the thing where, oh, that super's full of honey. Well, yeah, it is, but I don't believe it's enough for that hive to get through to springtime. So I top them off with 2-to-1 sugar water.
Hey, Bob,
And
I don't practice single brood chamber management.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, what people don't realize is right now, I only use single brood chamber
during honey flow.
during the honey flow. And then, all right, I have 3, right? My thing is from April let's say the last of March until the end of June, when the honey flow is over with, I have 2 medium boxes in there and considered, it's same as 1 deep. And I'll grab all my honey and then I'll pull the honey supers off. And then I take that 3rd super that I took off that hive, put it back on with its brood chrome in there. And then that's my winter configuration. So what they do is that box that I put on there, that 3rd medium, they fill that thing full of honey. So that's, a regular normal top honey box. And then like I say, I put the feeders on and I pour it to them. And they'll take, let's say, 4, probably about 8 gallons of sugar water per hive. On the, I'm looking at that's one side of that feeder. I'll say estimated at 2 gallons. I'll fill that thing at least 4 times. Before, and now I'm starting to see them where, I filled them a couple of days ago, and they still have about a half of a tank in there. So I'm thinking about, okay, they're slowing down.
Charlie cheats on single management.
You'll still put more sugar in that, Charlie?
What's that?
Well, when it's halfway down, you'll fill it back up? Or will you wait until it's empty and then fill it up?
I wait till it's empty, but what I'm getting at is that I'm like, okay, that's keying me in. Watch out. Don't mix too much more sugar. I don't want to have any sugar or syrup left. I want everybody to have, take it in and put it in their hives, and I'm done for the year. And so now I'm keying in to where, okay, some of my nukes are like that, where I've got some of them, they'll drain that thing in 24 hours. I got some of them, we got a half a tank full, or maybe an inch is still left in there. And I'm like, okay, that's keying in. All right, right now I got 40 gallons of syrup sitting in the basement. And I have a mentee that I've been mentoring, and he got 500 pounds of sugar when I got mine. And he's taken out, you put 250 in to make 40 gallons. He's taken that to his house already. He's filled his feeders, I think, twice. He might have enough for about a half a fill. And then I was talking to him here a night or 2 ago, and I'm like, I'm not sure whether I need 40 gallons, whether I'm going to be able to put 40 gallons in these hives. I haven't had time to go out there and check them here because it was raining today here and cold. And then I had to go to a wedding reception of beekeeper friends of mine got married. And so
You send them a condolence card?
The condolence? No, they've been living together for quite a few years. You know, that doesn't mean anything either. But Brian's actually Brian comes on our chat, but he doesn't come out on the live. And he's got about 100 hives. He's, you know, trying to become a sideliner / easy, working himself into commercial type thing. He's doing real well.
Charlie,
And
did you dance?
So, can I ask Bob a question?
yeah, go ahead.
So, Bob, you were talking about a chemical that you put out with tuna fish to kill the yellow jacket.
Oh, that wasn't. Oh, somebody said that it was that they used. I believe it was Rodney Middleton. Somebody had made a comment that they used tuna fish and they they let the yellow jackets get the tuna fish for a day or so, and then they come back and put termiticide in it, which the termiticide is called Termidor.
Is that the same as boric acid?
No, it's different.
So boric acid wouldn't work?
I don't know. That's not. I don't do that. So that was just.
I mean, I had one guy told me, I forget who it was, Chris, I guess, just go out to Home Depot and get yourself some yellow jacket traps.
Well, I make my yellow jacket traps out of 1 gallon milk jugs. I take a soldering gun and melt a hole in it, and then stick a McDonald's milkshake straw in there, cut about 3/4 of an inch, and then hot glue that straw into that jug, and then put A&W root beer, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and some ham or hot dogs.
I've seen that. Either that or 2-liter bottles or something.
It works
Brian, did you
better
have-
in spring.
Yeah. Brian,
but
did
it
you have a
doesn't work
question?
as good in the fall.
I just want to know if you danced at the reception, Charlie.
Nah, there wasn't no band there. No, it was that. It was that.
I'm gonna be learning to dance on YouTube, and I'm gonna dance with you at the conference and embarrass the hell out of my wife.
I can see you going to like Napoleon Dynamite and learning how to do that African anteater dance that he was doing at the talent show.
Yeah.
Hey Charlie, you're into folk music, right? Is that your thing, or is that?
I like bluegrass music. Yeah.
Bluegrass, okay.
And so yeah, I have yellow jackets. I have carpenter bees. They all like to inhabit my open feeder. I don't get too many of them around my beehive.
Well, Darren, do you have yellow jackets in Pennsylvania?
Oh my God, I got so many yellow jackets now.
What are you doing about it?
I can't. I don't know what to do about it. I have so many yellow jackets on my porch that I can't even walk out on my porch at times. I even have a hard time letting my dogs out. So my thing is, I just gotta keep the honey and all that wax or anything that's affiliated with beekeeping off my property, really near my house. Because I don't know what else to do with it. But like right around my hives though, I'm not having a real big problem this year. It's just I guess around my house is where I'm having them, because I had like extraction equipment and stuff like that around the house. So
that's pretty.
They're pissy right
This
now.
is the worst year I've ever seen in the last 6 years for yellow jackets here in Central Ohio. It's been horrible.
How much is the bulldog?
How much what?
At
$12,
Bulldog.
French bulldog, $12, Charlie.
Might have
This
to get
one's
that
like-
for my sister-in-law.
This one's like 18. This one's really cool. This is what my wife does with the beeswax.
Oh no, that's cute.
It's a candle.
We had
Cool.
from somebody from I don't know what country, but is it possible to control the varroa mites completely? No.
It looks like Korean to me if I was a betting man.
I would say that you can keep them under control, but you'll never get rid of them completely.
And Mikey, one tip I have for you for yellow jackets is put yellow jacket traps out in the spring, because
I
what
do that.
happens is
I do that,
okay,
Brian. I do that.
perfect.
I
'Cause
do.
what's happening for people that don't understand why is
Catch
right
the
now
queen.
colonies are making queens that are going to mate, and those mated queens are going to overwinter by themselves.
Yep.
The colony they came from dies, and
And
those
they're a lone
mated
queen.
queens will come out and start new colonies. So I always compare like yellow jacket colonies to like an annual plant, like a sunflower. That plant's going to die every year, but it's going to drop a bunch of seeds for next year, and that's what those mated queens are. So it sounds like you're doing that. That's a good job.
Yeah,
I have a honey house.
Right
I get
now,
yellow
they're trying to make as many queens as they can for
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's crazy this year.
And the other problem you have is they come out in the morning at an earlier temperature than the honeybees do.
They do.
So there's like a half an hour window where
Yeah.
they can just go in and out, and the bees are still kind of tight if it's that cold temperature in the morning.
Brian, I came home tonight. It was like 49 degrees, and there was a yellow jacket on my door right next to my lock. And I just went, give it the thumb, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
But it was just sitting there. It couldn't fly. It was too cold.
And you can spend all day killing them, and it'll
All
feel
day.
good every time you do it, but
Yeah.
they'll be back tomorrow in the same amounts. Yeah.
I'm just
Not a
never
billionaire.
seen many. It's
So
been
one
great.
thing I do, I have a honey house. It's like a shed. It's like a 12 by 8 shed. I have all my honey stuff in there, but there's little cracks, and yellow jackets get in there all the time. So when I go in there to work, if it's the daytime, I have a shop back that's full of soapy water. So I'll spend a half an hour just vacuuming up yellow jackets, and I see the 2 spots where they come in, right in the gaps in the door. So I'll just suck them up. And if I do it the next day, like I said, it'll be the same amount, but it feels good. And then I can work for a couple of hours in the honey house and not have to deal with so many. And usually I just put a veil on, and they don't really try. I've never gotten stung messing with them and trying to kill them, even around the colonies when I try to squish them. I think they're not as aggressive as sometimes people make them out to be when you're trying to kill them. I don't know. I just haven't had any problems one at a time.
Well, when they're eating sugar, they don't care about you. All they want to do is gorge.
Yep, that's right.
That's why I figured if they when they're searching for food, if there's food's on their mind, they're not concerned about stinging people. So that's
Sometimes we'll even get yellow jackets at the market, and I'll sit there and I'll try to squish them just to get them out of there.
I've got all the other pests. Yellow jackets don't seem to be that big a deal here.
Yeah, that's right, Chris.
Well, Bob, when you take the lid off your hive to go to put sugar in it, and there's like 400 yellow jackets in your feeder, it's an issue.
Yeah, I've never had
to figure out how to close up those cracks.
Yeah, it was just a bad lid. I bought a new lid today, so hopefully that'll help.
Well, if it was 400 dead ones, I'd be like, yeah, where's the problem?
No, they're not dead, Bob. They're alive.
You pull
Well,
it
that's
off
where
and get the big surprise.
That's where they get the foot. That's what I did with them.
My wife takes the brick that I use to weight the hive down, puts it in the feeder, and smashes them. And then I get to go in there and scrape all the dead yellow jackets out.
So the other day I'm out at the apiary, and I was messing around with the hive, and there was a paper wasp nest underneath the hive that I knocked off accidentally, and I looked down and I saw if there aren't all these wasps were on the ground, so I killed them with my hive tool. Well, then about 10-15 minutes later, I got stung up the pant leg, and I thought, well, okay, there's a honeybee crawled up my pant leg. It happens, right? If I go home, this is like an hour later, I go home and I'm walking up the steps and I get stung again. Right? So I'm thinking, I got to check into this. I got to see what's happening. I drop my pants at the top of the steps, and there goes one of those paper wasps just flying out of my pants. If it would have just went up this another foot, that could have hurt real bad. And then later on, I went out on the porch and I got stung by a hornet. So I'm getting stung more by hornets these days than I am by my actual own honeybees. So anyway, that's my story on that.
If you watched that video I did this morning, did you see how the demeanor of those bees has changed?
Yep.
Very, very calm compared to what they were. So.
But look at the amount of hive beetles you had in them trays. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely that was the goal, was put those bottom boards on when I did that. And man, I gotta say thank you to Chris again. I thank him every time we talk about it, but it's yeah, I don't think I won't buy any more regular bottom boards anymore. I'll use.
Have you ever looked into those Apame bottom boards? Don't they have that tray that you could use in the same thing? And then it's like a pollen trap as well. I bet it's the same price.
I don't know what the it's not a regular screen bottom board. It's actually, they've got bigger screen on it than the regular one, so I don't know. But I do know that there's a company by a guy named Mamet that happens to have some bottom boards that are very similar to those. You know, Apame is made in Turkey, and
right. Yeah.
And these other bottom boards are, wow, they're almost identical to those, but only a fraction of the price. So I'll probably be getting those bottom boards and see how they work out, as well as I'm going to be trying some of those colonies that he has. They're like Langstroth, and they are plastic, but they're not the same as Apame. They're more like an Enel type. Have you seen the Enel ones that were at the show last year?
Yep.
They're more like that.
So is he going to the NABI conference?
Well, I believe he is going to the NABI conference. And although he was not very happy with what was said on the live stream,
right.
So he was concerned about that. I said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, there's a couple things. That statement was made an hour and 25 minutes into the video, right? So if people are going back and watching it, they're not watching an hour and 25 minutes. You know, They're watching a few minutes of it, and then they get bored and they leave. How do I know? Because I can watch I can put up a 40-minute video, and I can see the average watch time is about 15 minutes, right? So first of all, you're only getting 30% of whatever I'm putting down or whatever I'm seeing, right? So that's what, is a whole nother thing. So you're looking at it and you're like, well, if I said I was using something, you only got 33%. You only listened to 33% of what the actual content was. And, so are you getting the full message? I don't know. Probably not, because I get the same question about, well, I thought you were using peppermint, and they don't listen long enough on the video. Some people do, but most people don't watch far enough in to see the cause and effect of, are you using it? Well, yes, I use it, but it's gotten to where when you have 50, 60, 70 hives, you can't tote a 6-pound bag of peppermint every time you go out to the bee yard. I would have to have a big lawn trash bag to throw the wrappers in. So we started using peppermint oil in like the pollen patties, right? Instead of peppermint candy, and started doing stuff like that. But again, if you don't follow it, you don't see everything. So
YouTube retention is really short to begin with, because everybody has that ability everybody has a short attention span now, and they can also fast forward through videos and everything else. So
that's why you see people that just only do shorts and they've got 1 million subs, but when they put out a actual video, they get like 8 people watch it, because they're not, that's not their thing, right? They just want to see, oh, what's this 30 seconds about? Oh, my bees are so kind, I can scoop them. I just happen to have a queen bee in my pocket that we can give to the, it's like, really, you believe that's how that went down? Brian, how many queens do you carry in your pocket every day out to the apiary? Or to
every single day I carry them. Yep, that's right.
Now, Jose, I could believe. Jose would have it in his pocket.
But I don't bring my tripod, Bob.
Right. Or wear your bikini. I get it.
Yeah. All right, Darren, what you doing with the knife?
Garlic. Cutting up
all we
garlic.
Can see is a big knife every once in a while coming into the
some
screen.
garlic. I'm dehydrating some
ladder on the back of your wall.
Hey, I'm on blood thinners. I'm on blood thinners, Brian. So if I slip up, this could be Bob's best video ever.
It'll go viral. Be my first
He's got
viral
a
video.
what is that? Abstract painting of trees on the back wall.
That was my cousin's painting. She passed away a couple years ago, and that's what I got. So that's where it goes. So I really don't know what it is. It's
It
abstract
looks like trees to me.
trees. I don't know. Maybe it's worth $1 million. I don't know. But
Hey, Chris, I saw you got your tripod today, but it's still shooting like this. You need to turn your camera this way and change the settings so it records in horizontal format so it fills the screen up. Just a tip. How do I know I did it wrong?
So how do you set that horizontal format?
Well, if you're using your phone, you do this.
Yeah, but
it'll turn, but if you're doing, and it'll record in that format. If you're doing a live, you've got to set up your live and then scroll down to the advanced settings and turn it to horizontal. Otherwise, even if you have it like this, it's still going to show up like this on the screen.
Right.
And then you're going to be
that's what I learned.
looking at it like this, trying to figure out what's going on.
Exactly. That's what I found out on my shorts. All right, I got to jump off for a little while. I might be back.
No, you won't. Don't lie to us. We know. We know it's.
Well, it is 11:15. I got a darn show to do too tomorrow and sell honey and stuff. So
you're going to a show tomorrow?
Oh, it's my club is at a local festival thing. They were there today. They sold whopping 12 bottles of honey. So it was rainy, and luckily they were inside a building. So now tomorrow it's supposed to be sunny and cold and windy. So we'll see how that works.
Charlie, I went to my local watering hole tonight and sold 4 bottles of honey, and all I did was drink a beer.
Well, here at the mill, I sold four of them this morning. So, and then I sold a bunch yesterday. I don't know how many I've sold this week, but I usually look at that for just last week. It was like a huge amount of sales, but I had a lot of customers and all that stuff.
Takes a long time to get your label out there to get to where people start recognizing your product, and it's a lot of work, but it pays off in the end.
I had a guy message me today that he's got a restaurant that wants to put my honey in there or use it or whatever. I don't know. I haven't contacted him back yet, but
actually I did well this week. I did my average of 15 pounds a week. So did quite well.
Very good.
We sell to the bottle shop.
What'd she say, Mikey?
She said we got a drive-through that we sell to, but
Ohio's got drive-through liquor stores.
they're it's a beer store. You know, it's a beer
Jordan or
drive-through.
somewhere, they buy a
Get
lot.
your cigarettes and your beer and whatnot. But
I saw one in Columbus where it was like an old Jiffy Lube where you drove through the building.
yeah,
When you get in there, instead of the oil change, they've got like your, soda cabinets and all.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
that's how it is here. You drive through a building and there's coolers on both sides, and you tell them what you want, and they go fetch it, and they throw it through your window, and out they go. Yeah. But we got a lot of foreigners that own all those drive-throughs, and
Say it's not so.
they love the honey because it was from their motherland. They all had honey in their motherland, and
Part of the cultures that they grew up with.
absolutely. And they don't have the setups, and I do, and I just kind of give them what they want.
I get a lot of Middle Easterners here that come and buy honey, and when I say buy honey, it's like we need 10 bottles. I need 12 bottles,
Yeah, they buy a case at a time, Bob.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Not no lightweights. I just want half-pound squeeze bottle or something like that. I mean, they're going in, and then they say, "Well, do you have comb honey?" And I'm like, "No, sorry, I don't."
Call Brian.
Call Brian out in Colorado. He'll ship you all you need.
I
But
still
next
got
year,
like
maybe-
20 more frames, Bob, that I haven't even touched that are future comb honey cuts. They're sitting in my garage or in my freezer. I don't even have time to cut them yet.
That's
So after you get done freezing it, you let that thaw out and then use your comb cutting machine.
Yeah, and I've done it both ways. I've cut it and packaged it and then frozen it, or frozen the frames first. It doesn't matter. It's, if you can only fit the small packaging in your freezer, I would do it afterwards. But I mean, for me, I have like a chest freezer, and I can fit like 2 Jester nukes in there back to back, so I can do like 10 frames frozen at a time.
Right.
And then I'll forget about them, pull them out when I'm ready to cut them, then let them thaw out for a couple of days. And
I have done it with foundationless frames that just have the fishing line through them.
Yeah.
And when they draw them out and they're capped, put it in the freezer, let them get hard, and then cut the fishing line loose and just pull it from the other end of the frame.
Mhm.
And then you got to cut the top off wherever your starter strip or whatever was up there. And then it's just a slab, right? The whole slab is just sitting there on my cutting board.
What size frames are these, Bob?
Those are, I've done it with deeps. I've done it with mediums. So I'll cut the squares, right? And I don't really sell the squares. It's more like for jars of chunk honey or something like that.
Yep.
And that way I don't have to be real precise. Does it fit in the jar? Yep. Is it too tall? Nope. There you go. Fill it up with honey, and a little value added there. But
so for the mediums, I would say you don't need the string at all. You can do it without any sort of comb support. With deeps, I have done some foundationless deeps where the weight of the honey has gotten too heavy before it's gotten attached on the sides, where that has dropped. But I don't think you need the fishing line in your mediums at all.
Hey, does anybody know, and this is a very off the wall question, does anyone know where Appomondia is next year? It was in Chile this year.
It was in
Last
Santiago,
year,
Chile.
I think it was in Turkey.
It's in Russia. No, it was going to be in Russia, and then they moved it to Turkey because Russia kind of invaded a neighbor.
And I think the year before that, it was in
Montreal.
Montreal. So how cool would it be to have a group of us go to Appomondia, wherever that is, and just use it like a trip, like a vacation trip to go travel to this convention? I think it'd be cool. I mean, because then you're not just experiencing what's here. You're experiencing from things from all over the world, what they're using.
Now, from what I understand, though, it's not a convention where they sell stuff. It's sort of a show and tell convention, I think.
Hilco went to Appomondia this year.
Oh, really?
They had, so I looked at the ticket prices for last year, and for the whole show, it was $375 US per person.
Yeah.
I don't know how long the show is. It might be a week. It might be 3 or 4 days. I don't know. But
I don't know either.
The biggest part would be the travel. And for me, it's the travel and hanging out with friends and look at, that's cool. Just like it was at the conference last year. I watched 0 of the people speaking and just hung out and talked to people the whole time. So
see y'all a little later.
All right, Charlie, have a good one.
Take it easy, Charlie.
Really? So, Brian, when you're making this cut comb, are you running a 3/4 inch starter strip and just letting them draw natural comb?
Just a foundationless medium frame, and I put it between. So this is how I do it, Mikey. So I do markets. So the past couple of years, I've run out of honey. So in the beginning of the summer, I'm always like trying to pull honey off as quickly as possible to get it to markets. So that set up a system for me where I'm going through my colonies and I'm pulling like one frame out of each box. That's like maybe 1 or 2 that are the first 2 full and capped off frames, right? All the other ones are starting to they're full of honey. They're just not as packed up, right? I'll pull those out to spin and I'll replace them with a foundationless medium frame. Right, so the flow's on hard already.
No, nothing.
Nothing, just 4 pieces of wood. That's it. And because it's between those two frames, because I'm doing it on the flow, they're going to fill that out completely. I've got nothing in there holding them on. It's just foundationless. It's just wax and that honey that they build out. And they build it out really nicely. And not all of them get filled out completely, but I cut 2x4s. So I still can get the most 2x4 cuts out of that frame. And any extras on the side that don't get filled out, I'll just crush and strain because I use the wax as a harvest and a resource as well.
What I've done in the past is use a wedge top frame, right? So you snap the little wedge off of it, and then when I'm building the frame, I'll just run some wood glue in there and then snap that frame in there so it's got a little standoff with the wood as a starter strip. And then I'll just take a little, it's called an acid brush, right? It's a paintbrush, but and I'll dip that in some wax and I'll just paint a little bit of wax on the bottom of that strip, and they draw a whole frame off of that.
I haven't had any luck doing any of that. I've tried several methods. I've got the Man Lake frames where you break the tabs off and put your foundation in, staple them in, and I'll just take that tab, break it off, staple it, and then I'll dribble wax on it. And I haven't had any luck with any of that.
Yeah. So with my system, if you do it during the strong honey flow, if you're putting that foundationless frame between frames that are already drawn out and being filled with honey, that empty space in there is going to drive them crazy, and they're going to want to fill it in immediately, and there's nowhere they can go but right along that frame because you're putting it in a slot between two full frames, right?
Are you getting one frame or two frames out of a deep or a super? Or
it's usually 1 or 2 per colony. You know, it depends on how strong that colony is. So my first round, I'm pulling out that first set of frame, and then I'm putting foundationless ones in. Then I'm taking those 30 frames because my extractor holds 30 frames. I'll take those 30 frames home. I'll spin them out, and then I'll run around my colonies and pull more honey. I'll pull capped frames and replace them with those wet ones that I've just spun out. So my first round puts the foundationless ones in. My second rounds and any round after that puts in frames that are wet that I've already spun honey out of. And I believe that they fill those frames that are wet with honey even faster because they want to, because it's got that honey, you know, it's just wet in it, and they're going to want to work that. Brad says there's no place mentioned yet, Bob, for Apple.
I always put my wet frames back in and let them clean them up.
Yeah. So if you do that during the honey flow, they're going to pack that thing right back up with honey. So that's been my system of trying to maximize my honey harvest during years where I'm still building up medium comb, which is so much gold in that honey.
My flow is not that long, so
yeah, mine's not great either.
I put a wet hive back on, they'll clean it up, and I'll go back in 2 weeks and pull it off, and then I stack them up and do the paramoth and keep them on a porch out in the open sunlight. And that, you know, we got one run and we're done.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same. That's funny, Stuffy. Yes, I have no data to support my belief, yet I believe it nonetheless.
Sure, there's no study out there proving your point.
Not scientific, Bob. It's just the way it is.
Just the way it is. That's it.
See, Brad's comment that strong honey flow for comb honey, I believe is correct. I've never tried any of those systems that are the entire boxes, right? The Ross rounds or the hog halves, because my flow's not that strong. And I didn't believe that they were going to fill out that box very well. And I was going to be left with these rounds or these little sections that I didn't know what to do with the partials. So if I just have 1 or 2 frames in a medium, that way, if they end up partials, I can cut them up so much easier than any of those systems. But I bet in a place like where Brad lives, with the flow that they have, he could use whole boxes and do comb honey with his area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think strong honey flow and a large population of bees, that's heavy population. That's what's key to making the comb honey.
Yeah.
Yay! Canada representing.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Hey, everybody.
Well, hello, Brad.
Hi, Mike.
I'm in the presence
I had
of greatness.
Yeah.
Were you talking about Bob or Brian? Or
I'm just a dude.
No, I'm just another guy.
Disguised like another dude. That's a movie
I'm
reference.
just another guy, man. Nothing special.
That's
But I couldn't help but jump in on the comb honey conversation. I've been cutting comb honey for the last couple of days, and yeah, you know, Brian, that's everybody's got their own little thing, and I love what you just described. That's a really good method, because you're right. You take that frame out between capped frames, and they're just, oh my god, there's space, and they'll draw it nice and straight and beautiful. If
I do that in
one,
August, they're going to ignore that space. But if I do it in June, they're going to fill it right in.
Timing is everything.
Yep.
See, my flow isn't long enough for that. I can't take a super and say, okay, go ahead and cap the honey, and then there's enough flow left to actually make comb honey. So, although I've never tried that, I may just try that though, Brian. I may just try that. I've always thought about trying that. I think, you know what? I think this would work. So I'm glad you described it, because it's always kind of worked in my head, but I've never really tried it.
And it's one of those things. It's a system that I developed just out of. It's a system I developed just out of necessity, and I was like, "Well, this kind of works well."
You're observing the bees too. You're observing how they work, and that's perfect, because that's one of the things that what I do, it doesn't work as well, because I'll put it on all my comb frames, and particularly if I put a comb frame in beside, say, a foundation frame, or heaven forbid, a drawn frame. Well, that doesn't work very well, because they have a head start on the drawn frame, and they'll start drawing those out, squeezing it toward the comb, and then the comb frame is really thin, right? They'll still draw a really nice comb frame, but it's pretty thin, so it doesn't work so well. And I just you know, I felt like throwing in my 2 cents into this.
So, what's your take on starter strips? Do you use starter strips or anything like that?
No, starter strips are a waste of time and money. However, I'm talking foundation. If you're bothering to put a piece of foundation in there, you're wasting your time and money. However, like Bob was saying, that little stick right in the center on the bottom of that top bar, I think that's important. It's not mandatory, but I think it's important, because I've noticed that if they have a flat bottom of that top bar, they tend to often go to the edge of the top bar, the corner of the top bar, and they'll start there because they want some kind of an edge. So any kind of a little stick jammed in that slot or something like that will help them get in the center, and they often don't do it right anyway, but you know, it improves your chances remarkably. I never wax mine. Bob says wax helps his. Great. There's nothing wrong with putting a little wax on.
Well, there's no clinical trial or study behind that. I got to disclaim.
There isn't, eh?
There's no,
I think waxing it probably
National
would help,
Beekeeping
and it's certainly
Society
not going to hurt it.
statement.
Right? Now, I want to caveat all of my comments, because my approach to comb honey is simple. My comb honey production cannot take any more time and effort away from my producing 11,000 pounds of honey by myself than absolutely necessary. So I put almost no effort into it. The only effort I really put into it is right now, where I have to actually package the stuff. So I'm cutting it up and packaging it right now, and it's very tedious, and I honestly don't care for the job, other than the fact that I get to work with the comb honey, and it's such a gorgeous product that it's really, you know, it's a really beautiful product. So I like that part, but it's very tedious standing there processing it all. I'll cut 200 or 300 sections in a season, so it takes me quite a while. So having said that, all of my approach to this is dead simple. Everything is absolutely as simple as possible, because I cannot spend any effort on it. That foundationless medium you talked about, Brian, that's probably the best and most surefire way to do it. And I have not found that you need any supports in that frame, as you mentioned. Deeps, yes. Mediums, I've never had to have any supports in mediums. I just use foundationless mediums, and if I can put that little stick at the top in the groove, just cut a stick that's just the right size and just jam it in there. That's all you need to do. And it doesn't even have to go all the way across. If it goes 2/3, 3/4 of the way across in the center, that's enough. Once they get started, they're good. So that's a really good way to make comb. One of the ways that I use most is I'll take a deep, and then I just cut a little stick that's the right length, and I just nail it in from the sides. So I have two sections. I have a section on top, and I have a section on the bottom, and that works. It works pretty good. If my comb honey, if they fail on a frame of comb honey, no big deal. I throw it in the uncapper, it goes in the extractor, done.
Yep.
Right? It's not a loss at all. I sell the wax, I sell the honey. So that's actually how I produce most of my comb, is with deeps with that stick in the center. And one of the reasons is I don't have to be too picky with it. I don't have to say, get a medium box and make comb honey. I can throw that deep box, because all of my supers are deeps. I can throw that deep box wherever I want, fits anything I want, just works like everything else. And most of my frames are deep, so I don't have to buy special frames. And I actually make a lot of comb honey. It's kind of the worst way to make it, but it's pretty reliable with my story frames.
Yeah, I heard you
with
say
my
that the
deep
other
frame,
night. Yeah.
That I take a sheet of plastic foundation, I cut the sheet of plastic foundation in half, and I secure it right in the center of a deep frame. So the outside, a quarter, this side, a quarter on that side, is foundationless. So they'll draw that foundation, and then they got a nice start, and they'll generally draw it pretty straight all the way across. I just finished cutting up probably 75 trays of comb made in that way. The dimensions of that comb are a little off for my containers. I can get 4 sections and a couple of strips out of that. The deep, well, I guess it works out the same, but the deep that I have with the stick in the middle, I can get 8 sections out of that if it's drawn properly. And the other problem with the story frames is now half of that frame is capped, and I have to extract it. So I have to uncap it, and then I have to put it back in my extractor, because I do my comb honey after I'm done my extracting. So there's an overlap there. I can't wash my extractor down and clean out my melter, clean out my spinner, and clean out my end capper. I have to delay all that until I'm done cutting the story frames for comb, which I'm done now. I'm cutting the deeps now. So those are my and the same thing. Like, I watch Gus Mitchell's, and I really appreciate his videos on making comb. The guy's an artist when it comes to that kind of thing. And
Not
I can
just
really,
comb,
really
just honey
appreciate.
in general. I've learned a lot from
Oh yeah,
him.
so many things.
Yeah.
So many things for sure. He sets the standard for a lot of instructional videos on so many things. However, my approach to it is very different than what Gus is trying to accomplish. And like I said, I can't take that much. Everything about my comb production is keep it simple, like just basic.
Keep it simple, stupid.
No more work. That's right.
Yeah.
And even my cutting, I just have I have a stainless table. Sometimes I'll put a big cookie sheet on it, and then I have a cooling rack for cookies. I have a big stainless cooling rack, so I'll lay down my frame, and then I'll cut it. I actually have a stainless box cutter. I put it in hot tap water, get it warm, cut the thing out, take the frame off, then cut it in sections. I don't even have a nice comb cutter like Gus has. I just take my tray, I line it up on the comb, and then I just go eyeball it and say, okay, we'll cut here. Right. So it's a little time consuming in that way, but it's again super, super basic, simple. I don't think you could get more non-high tech than what I'm doing with my comb honey. And I try not to get wrapped up in, they didn't draw it right, because it just didn't draw it right. crush it, throw it in the spinner.
That's
Brad,
right.
like you were saying about keep it simple, but I saw a presentation a guy from here in Pennsylvania. I guess he's like that's his main thing is comb honey, but he did a presentation on how he builds the hives up to the point where they're ready to swarm, but then at that point, then he isolates the queen or removes the queen from the hive, which eventually like it converts the other bees to being foragers, right? So then he has all these bees, like none of these bees, they're not nurse bees. Now he has a whole entire overpopulated hive of forager bees that just come in and they build that comb for him.
Well,
But
what it also does in 8 days, you have no brood to feed. So guess where all that honey goes? It goes into your comb supers, where it goes. So that just multiplies your flow right there. And there's all these great tricks on how to make comb honey. There's books written on how to do this stuff, and it's fantastic. And I kind of wish I could concentrate on that and experiment with some of that stuff. But I'm really the opposite spectrum of that. And I guess what I would choose to teach the world is there's a question here. Vincent, how do you get them to fill Ross rounds? Well, I'm not the guy to ask that because I'm not interested in Ross. I actually tried 1 year, same thing. They walked around in them all summer. They didn't do a thing. And the thing that I don't like about something like Ross rounds is you're putting a sheet of foundation in there and your customer's eating that foundation.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't like that either.
My comb honey, zero.
That's
Everything is brand new when it goes in, right? And it works so well, and it's so easy for it to work well that all of the systems that take so much effort to make them work, like why why bother, right?
Brad,
Ross rounds
I'm
are
with
cool,
you.
hog calf ones are cool.
I think those books make great winter reading, but once you hit the season and just the workload hits you, simplicity is key. And folks tonight heard from you and me 2 simple ways to make comb honey. And Darren's absolutely right. There's a lot of complex ways to make comb honey out there too. So if you want to get, I think it's Killian's comb honey book, that'll describe some really complex ways. I've watched that Mike Palmer video on the National Honey Show on comb honey. I can't tell you how
Maybe
many
I need
times.
to write a book on the simple ways to make comb honey. It'll be 5 pages.
Just make it a book. An e-book.
Might be a
I'll
bestseller,
make it a
though, Brad.
leaflet.
And they're interesting methods.
Might be a bestseller, though.
Yeah,
I'd be bestseller. So for a penny.
But Brad, don't you have a longer honey flow up there in Canada where you are?
Sure.
I mean, are you dealing with a 2 or 3 week?
Well, I don't know. What do you mean about longer? My main honey flow is about 3 weeks.
It's 3 weeks.
So I don't really have time to change gears in there. It'll string out for 2 months, but it's not very strong after about 3 weeks.
So you're drawing
comb
combs
honey
for
has
3
to be,
weeks.
Comb honey has to be kind of made up right away. Like the comb supers need to be the first ones on, kind of thing. In my operation, I put my comb supers on right away.
So you get one shot at it.
Pretty much, yeah. If they're not doing it right, if they didn't do it right in 2 weeks, that's it. I don't wait till next year.
Well,
again, because I don't have time to fuss with it, right? I don't have time to fuss with it. Too busy.
But you can take that all the way back, though. It's the same principle. If you want to make comb honey or bunches of honey, you got to have an overwhelming bee population in there with room to do it. It still comes back to that maximum you have to have. I don't care if you use 1 box. I think people still say you can use 1 box in single brood chamber management, but you got to have 2 boxes worth of bees in 1 box, and then put the excluder, and then let them start.
Yeah, you still got 2 boxes.
And do that, Bob, without them swarming on you. So.
What's timing? That's
and don't forget this single brood chamber management that we do, and I'm saying we, some of us, I don't know what Doug does, but what Ian does, what I do, and I say what Ian does is what I do because I do what Ian does. Like I learned a lot of my stuff from Ian because he was putting that out on his blog when I started beekeeping, and that when my brood chamber becomes a single brood chamber, it's already 2 boxes of bees, right? So it doesn't really go to a single brood chamber. It just goes to a brood chamber that now has a queen excluder in the center, if you want to think of it that way.
And then you
Because there's
allow
still
that
2
second
heaps of
box
bees.
to hatch out, and then they start to backfill it.
Right. So 3 weeks, there's no more brood in that box, and another week or so, they're going to have that full of honey.
And you put one frame in there to build comb.
I don't. I put a whole box. I may not put an entire box. Carl disappeared. But I may put 8 frame, a frame of foundation on the outside on each side, and put 8 frames of frameless, foundationless frames on the insides. I don't do what Brian just described, because
We have different flows.
it's more. Well, it's more management than I want to do. I think even if the flow would tolerate it, I wouldn't do it because it's more management than I want to do. I don't want to revisit that. I put that thing on.
Too much work.
And I take it off at the end of August. That's all. And what they did is what they did. Right? And they usually make quite a bit of nice comb in there. And a lot of stuff that I throw in the spinner. I just crush it and throw it in the spinner, or I extract it or something.
Brian, how long is your flow in Colorado?
Not that great, and we only get one, probably from late May to middle of July. It's not super strong. We're super dry here, so we don't have the best honey making environment in the world. No hive beetles, though. There's the benefit.
Well, we have very few up here, very few hive beetles. But we're the same way, dependent upon the weather, how much rain we get. It makes all the difference in the world and how long the flow is.
Yeah.
The goldenrod this year was beautiful. You'd drive down the road, all the fields are golden yellow, but the flow just wasn't there. We haven't had an inch of rain in the last 2 months.
Wow.
So it just didn't happen. I mean, the hives smell like gym socks.
Uh-huh.
But when you go into them and you start actually pulling the frames, I pulled maybe 4 frames of goldenrod honey in a 10 frame deep box. The rest were pretty much empty. So I'm pounding the feed.
Gotcha. How's it going, Carl?
Going good. If my internet stays up.
Carl, do you make comb honey?
I've made a couple boxes the last year, and I'm loving the chat. Actually, a lot of FYIs what to do. I just wish this chat was in May.
Yeah.
Hey,
you got to bookmark
hey,
it, Carl.
I'm sorry.
I just said bookmark it.
Yep.
You got to get this recipe, Brian.
Hold on.
He's got it.
Oh, he's got
Bob,
it.
I was going to ask you. I actually made a little video today, and it's a 6-minute video. Would you care to play it?
I don't know.
I just
I'll play it.
I just sent you the link in a message, and I honestly made this video for Alex. I don't see him here, so I hope I can get it to him, just to show him a very, very simple way that I think he can make comb honey and be able to make some money off of this little endeavor. So
we're gonna force that guy to be successful, Brad.
We're gonna drag him.
We're gonna jam success down his throat. Well, I'm really thrilled that he's open to suggestions and has the drive to actually follow through on some of that stuff.
I think he's doing better than what people think he's doing. I really do. I think he's going to be a good beekeeper.
I do too. It's just sometimes frustrating to hear the excuses, right? Because we
Well,
know he can do it.
I know
I
he
think
can
he's
do it.
doing it. I think he's
and
just
I
making
Yeah.
this stuff up in
Yeah.
his mind, his head.
what
Yeah.
I hear from Alex though is I want to do what James is doing, and Alex needs to follow Alex's path, and
Yeah.
because James is a very different situation, and James is a very
Mhm.
different person. In his experience, James has been keeping bees for years, and so I hope there's a path that, with everybody's help, we can show him a path, and that he can kind of find a path that really works for him.
Is this
Yeah,
the one?
play that if you don't mind. Yeah, to see that's that deep that I was talking about.
Okay, Alex, this is just for you. Now, I mentioned the other night that I think a good little business model for you would be comb honey. These are my scraps. These are what I've cut off that don't quite fit in my trays. I'm using these trays. They're maybe a 3-inch by 4-inch tray. They're fairly easy to come by. Doesn't matter what you put it in though. And the real thing that I really want to disseminate to you is don't overthink it. This is about as complicated as you need to get. Now, this is just a deep frame, and I know you use mediums, but you can do the same thing. So this is what I've done with this one. I put a wedge of wood here. You don't need to do that. But what you need to do is you need to put something in that groove in the top bar to get the bees to kind of start in the center. If you don't do that, the bees will want to start along this edge and they'll make a mess. They make a mess a lot of times anyway. So take your medium frame. If you can get a paint stick, or if you can somehow get, I think you said you had a little table saw, didn't you? You could rip up a little piece of wood and get it just exactly the right thickness and jam it in here. You don't need any glue or fasteners. It'll stay in there. Once the bees start to draw the comb in there, they'll secure it, and you don't need it to be very long, just 1/4 of an inch. This wedge I put in there, this was very early in my career making comb honey. It's plenty big, so it takes away the comb. I can't use anything above about here. So on this deep frame, I've just put another one in the center. I got all fancy with my router, and I made a bevel so that the same principle, they'd start in the center. But you see what they did? They didn't start in the center here.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's as complicated as you need to get. Honestly, I've got a pail of hot water here. I've got a box cutter, which, yes, that's a stainless steel blade. Okay. And I find that works really well. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but it just cuts through the wax along there. I'll cut this out, hopefully.
Notice the cookie sheet he's using,
And I
too.
cut it right at the wood, and then I'll trim it once it's out. Okay, I don't think I can do this one-handed. I have to hold the frame down. And all I've got here is a cooling rack for baking cookies. Of course, I have a nice stainless table, but you don't need a stainless table. You can just have any nice washable surface. You'll get a lot of honey drip down out of this rack. So maybe what you can do is get a big cookie sheet, put under here, and collect that honey, and then you can strain that, put it in your jars. I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if I can do this for you. It's not even attached here. Attached there. On here. Now I have to cut inside that wooden piece. You don't want pieces of wood in your comb honey. Okay. Just dip it in the water again to warm it up. Clean off that honey. If you don't clean off the honey, it'll grip the capping, and you have to experiment with how to do this. I'm doing more of a downward motion here because it will tear the caps and diminish the aesthetics of the comb. So when I do this in my deeps, the width of this top piece will be just about perfect for my tray, which is awesome. Okay, let's see if I can lift this off. You see what I'm left with here? A couple of nice slabs of comb. And then I take my tray, and again, I'm just trying to demonstrate that you don't need to overthink this. And I will use two hands for this, but I don't have two hands while I'm holding a camera. So I'll try to line up the bottom of that tray, right? And that'll tell me where to cut that piece right about there, right? So I'll just cut that piece. Usually don't set the tray down on there and get honey on it, but just for your benefit. Just for your benefit. So I think I can often get 4 pieces out of here. I'm going to go to the end, cut one out of this one, go just a tiny bit smaller, that one, and then I think that one will be just the right length. And I usually use 2 hands for this, but I'll just stick my knife under it.
Yeah.
Bring it up. I want to get the honey tails, so I'll just rotate a little bit because I don't want to dip honey everywhere. So there's your comb. Put the lid on. I've just made $15. And are people ever happy when you say, do you have comb? When they say, do you have comb honey? And you say yes, and they want to give you a big hug. So I think that's a good business model that you could likely pretty easily manage in your apartment. These trays go from here, they go into my freezer. I've cut about 75 trays so far. Have a great day.
So what I
Thanks,
like
Bob.
about that cookie sheet is it's got the small grids. If you use a cookie sheet that's got larger grids, the weight isn't going to be as displaced, and sometimes you can get that grid underneath on the bottom of the comb. So that's why I wanted people to notice your cookie sheet there, Brad.
Now you're using a container that's transparent on the bottom, though, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, you have to be a lot more careful than I do because I can hide a lot of sins in that aluminum tray.
Yeah, so you can flip over
So
the
you're
good side,
absolutely
good
right,
side
though.
up.
You're absolutely right. If you had a larger grid, it would definitely make a mark, and I bet you the thin cappings would probably stick to it because there's more pressure on it, and you'd likely tear the comb apart lifting it up. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And as long as it's clean, you can even use a queen excluder to do that same thing because those will
I never thought of that.
pretty
That's
nicely.
a very good point.
It's probably even better than the cookie sheet that you had, but if it's right out of the hive, it's gonna just dirty up your comb.
Queen excluder would be nice because when I'm trying to slide the knife under, it's hard to not catch the cookie cooler.
And I'm usually
grid.
picking it up.
Would be a little easier.
If you pick up that comb, honey, you've got to like grab it by the midrib, and you can pick it up okay. But if you're grabbing it above or below that midrib, you're going to put finger indentations into it. But if you grab it in that middle place
either, because then the capping is going to touch the honey and it's not going to be nice and white anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
There's all kinds of little things, but if a guy starts doing it, you're going to learn all that stuff.
And every time like you do it, you get better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the beginning, the reason I want to disseminate what I'm doing is that so many people they have the impression that making comb honey is difficult. It can be. You can make it difficult. You can make it very involved, but I've proven that it can be super simple too, and it can work quite well.
Yeah, I don't get it why people don't want to do comb honey, because they say that it's too complicated, but it's actually easier than, like, you don't need extractor. There are companies that just do comb honey. They don't bother with the extractors and all that stuff. They just do comb honey.
Yeah.
Well,
if I had a spinner, if I had my spinner that I could just do all my crush and strain in, you could even do it with a Max and Junior, which would be cheaper, and did all comb honey cutting. I wouldn't need an uncapper or a extractor or pumps and tanks and melters and strainers, and It would be so much simpler.
For me,
But on
the
the
reason
other
I don't
hand,
is because it takes so much for them to draw the comb, and I've constantly been fighting getting enough comb for my boxes. And
exactly, Bob. Exactly.
but
It's
once
Yeah.
you
super
get it
hard
to that point to where you have those combs,
You need a good
man,
flow.
to get the comb built
You
in
need
order to have all the comb you need to fill your apiary. It's extremely hard when
especially if you keep
especially
expanding,
when you're a beginner.
expanding.
Well, I think that Brian hit that on the nose. Though he's rotating so fast because he's growing. You're always going to be chasing that built comb, no matter what you do. So with the way Brian took this on as a full-time job, so I understand the reasoning why he's doing it. But the concepts he's come up with are very, very helpful for somebody like me.
And he's peer
Because-
pressuring me to go ahead and just fire the job altogether and just do it.
I've already talked one person into quitting their job and going full time as a beekeeper. And this was before I did it. So I watched him do it and I'm like, well, now I really got to do it.
Nothing like selling your
He was
buddy down the river before you do it.
That's right.
He was
That's
your guinea
right.
pig, eh? You're the guinea
Yeah.
pig.
But I mean, he's a great buddy of mine. We've got very similar businesses. We've kind of grown up together. Just a great resource to have around. And we try to avoid each other at the markets because we're so similar, you know. But he's a guy that could probably benefit from some of these chats.
But Brian, you're a great teacher. You're a great teacher.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I taught CTech, Diesel College, and it takes a special kind of person to do what you do.
Thank you. I taught elementary for about 20 years. Not always good at it, but I mean, you talk in front of a group of people for 8 hours a day, no matter what that group is, you kind of develop a skill for it. So.
But you touch other people's lives.
I hope so. That's my goal. And I hope I still do that at markets. I try to reach out to kids in particular. I always try to give kids like a cool kid deal if they want to buy something. I always pay really close attention to the kids that are interested in bees. It's something I'm really, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
No, I was just pulling this comment up. So something that I've learned from Brian and other beekeepers is, you know, stuff like this where you have blackberries that galore where you're at, that would be a good thing to make a blackberry creamed honey. Something that people, hey, we're known for our blackberries, so now I've got my honey. Now it's blackberry creamed honey, right? And that markets to the people in your area. Like here it'd be peaches or strawberries or something like that, right? But it's incorporating what you have around you already to help you market your product. You know, Carl's got a bunch of peanut butters up there, so peanut butter creamed honey. You know, yeah, I mean that's.
We got a bunch of fat people up here. That's what it is.
Hey, I resemble that comment.
Wait a minute. I'm preaching to the choir myself. So,
but like you have these the cider days, so you made a specific honey for that, and probably is that honey doing well for you at the cider days now?
Yeah, so we made a batch of that like 3 weeks ago. I started bringing it to other events and had to make another batch for this event, and it was one of our best sellers today. And it's a great conversation piece. Oh, and special for this event, we made this limited edition apple cinnamon spice. We're not going to make it again this year. That's right. So get it now because we'll be sold out. Right. So we like to do that kind of stuff.
Niche market.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just got to be aware of.
yeah, and he'll be on his third batch next week for that
No,
limited.
I'm transitioning over to other fun ones. I'll do a peanut butter one. So, Carl, I got a ratio question. It sounded like from the other night, 1 pound wasn't enough for a 5 pound batch. Is that, or a 5 gallon?
Well, my batch was about 120 pounds.
Okay.
And I used about 10 pounds.
Okay.
So, you know,
so 12 gallons to 1 pound.
Okay. Yeah, 12 pounds to 1. Yeah. So that's, that was, the first batch I did was about 25 pounds, and we really didn't measure it. It was like,
Yeah.
hey, let's see how it turns out.
Yeah.
And then this last time when we did it, there was real close to 120 pounds.
Okay.
And that's where I got into. I told you, Brian, I mixed it in a completely different. What we did was we creamed it in a machine.
Yeah.
Then we pulled it out, and I took the old extractor that I had. That was a 4-frame extractor. I took the guts out of it, and I used that. I put it in there, and we mixed everything in there. The one thing we mixed it for another 2 weeks, not once a day, twice a day. And after emptying that tank, the one thing I'd say is make sure you mix the hell of it, because we did have some clumps on the side of the tank and that. So now everything we bottled came out fine. We didn't have any clumps or anything, but on the sides of the tank, you could see where it was like building up in that. So
Yeah.
I got to do a little better job mixing it.
I have that happen too, and sometimes it's often on the top and it's usually my buckets. So after I mix it, I'll take a spatula, and as far down as I can, I'll just go around the inside of the bucket and try to get some of that dry stuff back into the middle. Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
it
good
does
idea,
work towards the edge.
Yeah, we didn't catch it until we were 2/3 of the way done bottling, And it's like we're not gonna go back to start. It is what it is. Now the next time we do it, we're getting close now. I am just extracting some honey now, and we're gonna be getting ready for Thanksgiving and stuff like that for the winter now. So because we're starting to work into some markets and that, because that's where I'm at now. We're starting to build into that now.
So Bob, Carl's next. Carl's going full time next.
No, I have 2 other companies I got to sell off before I do that. I'm not employed. I'm self-employed.
Yeah,
so, Carl, you're in the best spot in Pennsylvania, right there on the outskirts of the Poconos. You could probably go full time if you wanted to.
I actually travel through the Poconos quite a bit, and I do sell in the Poconos because I take care of probably about 50 restaurants in the middle of the Poconos and that. A couple country clubs, a couple resorts, and a handful of mom and pop restaurants and that. But I'll be honest with you, just around here where I'm at, I do perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But
does it help you as a beekeeper being in the restaurant industry?
I carry a box with me daily, and with everything, and it's what it comes down to, Brian.
Yeah.
What kind of week I'm having. If that phone is ringing like crazy and I'm running A to B to Z, doing repairs and that, then I don't do much selling. But if it's just standard PMs and doing standard work, I sell quite a bit.
Nice.
There's a lot
Carry
of
a box of honey with me everywhere I go,
Yep.
and I always sell honey because somebody says, "Do you have any honey with you?" Yes, I do.
Always.
Truck honey.
Oh, they always say, "Oh, do you sell your honey?" When they find out you're a beekeeper. I sure do, but then you never see them show up like at my yard, right?
Gotta have it
But
in
if
your
I had
hand,
it, I got
Bob.
some in the truck.
Gotta have it in your hand.
I have them actually going on to Facebook and sending my wife messages. I need more chefs are messaging my wife. Hey, tell Carl when he's coming by, I need another one of these or 2 of these and that. So it's starting to wrap around,
Takes
I tell
time.
him not to call me because when my phone rings, my stress level goes up because that means that I'm probably going to have to go fix something. So I tell all the chefs, you want more, get on Facebook and send it to the wife. Let her tell me at least. So my
But
phone
if he
rings
doesn't
enough.
like mine, it'd have been like, "Bob, they need more honey."
Takes time.
It's like I'd rather get the phone call.
I could
It's like
agree with you
Howard's mother.
sometimes.
Yeah, that was my poor attempt.
Howard!
And I thought
When you start selling your honey to everybody that you know, the word goes around and everybody knows that you have that honey and they love that product, and then it'll sell itself.
well, the main things that helped me out from several different aspects is I haven't been to any markets yet.
No.
And I claimed my business and my apiary on Google. You gotta do that. If you haven't done it, figure it out, watch a YouTube video, claim your video or claim your business and tell them what you do, whether it's bee removals or raw honey or selling bees, whatever you're doing. And then you will randomly get calls to your phone that say, hey, do you sell honey? Well, yes, I do, you know. And when are you there? Well, I'll be there after 5 today, or you can come by anytime on Saturday, whatever, you know. And I saw a lot of honey like that, just people just showing up and being obnoxious on their horn and stuff. And but
For example.
oh yeah, for example, like today, I was on the phone and I was mixing feed, and someone comes up and they didn't see me. They pulled in front in their Jaguar and they were like, I mean, loud horn, right? A couple times.
Serve me.
I didn't immediately run out like, yes, sir, can I help you? And, you know, with my roller skates and everything. But,
Yeah,
but I mean, it wasn't 20 seconds later, you know, hitting it like they're impatient. So I turned around with my bucket. I was like, I don't give a damn if you buy my honey or not, you know, go away, you know. And I finally went out there and he ended up buying you know, a quart. So I can't fault that, but it's like, come on, dude, I live here, you know, give me a minute or get your ass out of the car and go knock on the door, you know, you'll get a response. But it's
I get it a lot that people phone or something and they think it's a store out in the middle country. So, are you open? Well,
yeah.
I'm a farmer, so yeah.
I get that too, Brad.
But you're opening
It's like,
yourself
I'm a farmer.
up to public. You're
Yeah,
opening,
right.
you're all of a sudden going from a private individual and you're opening yourself up to anybody that wants to pull into your driveway, and you have to be able to welcome them.
Oh yeah. Well, I got a sign out in the yard.
Of people driving through my yard, way out back into the hayfield, you know, driving around. It's kind of like,
Well,
And then
we're
I
selling eggs and everything else too. So
I bought 2 signs. You can get, at least when I bought them, there was 2 signs. It's kind of like a garage sale sign, right? Or a for sale sign that you'd put in your yard, and just corrugated material. And it was like $29 for 2 signs with the metal holder, right? So I just put one of those up on the road and leave it there, and people just stop, especially if they see me elbow deep in a beehive. That's what, oh, we saw you out here. We thought well, I get it, but you don't see I got a veil on and bees following me all the way to your car. And
yeah, come and get it.
Yeah. Here's the honey. You might want to roll your window up, but what kind of honey do
like
you
that,
want?
That summer I tried the You Pick honey farm model, and it really didn't work very well for some reason.
Here's your jacket. There you go.
It's like,
It'll
there it
only
is.
be,
Go get it. Go,
you know,
get the
that
honey.
would be-
It's over there.
That would be so great, though, if that would work, because then people would see how much work it is to actually get the honey and what the value is behind it, you know.
Now they would just say that's neat. What you have to show them is the price of the box and the frames.
And you
And
got
a
to
little
say,
bit of
come
that
back
equipment.
next week because we're going to be
Yeah,
treating
and a
bees.
little
And come
bit of
back
that
the week after
equipment.
because we're going to be feeding bees. And then come back the week after because we're going to be putting them in the building. And come back in the spring because we're going to be taking them out.
they
Oh,
don't
come back.
care. They don't
looks like
care about
fun.
that.
Yeah, come
They
back
don't
in
care
2
about
weeks
that.
because I
They,
got
they look at. I can go to Walmart and buy a jar of honey for $4, and it's from Venezuela.
yeah, that's
They don't look at this is a jar of honey made in your backyard.
Oh, by the way, that $4,000 piece of equipment that I ordered will be here next week if you want to help me load that in the building. You know,
Yeah.
they don't, that's just oblivious, right?
I just bought a $1,000 extractor, and everybody goes, "Oh, that label looks great." Yeah, well, it cost me, $300 to have it made, but
Right.
nobody thinks about that. They
Oh,
just
yeah,
go,
they're
"Oh,
like-
that's a great looking product."
Well, can you give me a discount if I
No.
buy? No.
No,
Boy.
Hey, Bob,
You know,
Tom.
here's
Yeah, not
I
a
got
problem. I'll give you a hug. Come on over.
Yeah, come on.
So here's another thing that I had to experience starting my business, because you're so eager as a new business person. You want to say yes to everything. You want to say yes to every opportunity. At
Yeah.
markets, you always get the people who want to buy your honey in bulk to make mead or something like that. And I had to learn that
I'm
I
not
had
your
to
guy.
say, no, that's not my business model. I don't sell honey in bulk. We focus on small batch
Here,
specialty
honey.
honeys,
What about this?
right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
And you're
instead
gonna
of
sell it
talking about,
all.
yeah, that's right. And instead of telling them all the reasons where I'm not going to make any money selling a bucket of honey, I just have learned just to say, no, that's not what we do. We focus on small batch specialty honey. And I do say, if you're
I just
looking
had a
for
guy
bulk
ask
honey,
me
and
Yeah, sorry, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead, Brad.
No, I just to reinforce your point there. I just had a guy ask me to buy 300 pounds of honey, and he's a friend, you know. And I said, yeah, you could buy 300 pounds of honey, but you're not going to like my price because
Yeah.
guess what? I'm going to sell all of my honey, and I'm going to sell it in a jar, and it's going to sell for X number of dollars a pound, and
Yeah,
you don't
that's
want
right.
to pay that. But
We
And
have a
not-
meadery up the
300
road.
pounds.
A meadery just like a mile up the road from me wants to buy honey for $3 a pound. Like, no.
I feel like I should buy that 55-gallon bulk drum from a big beekeeper and keep it just for those customers.
Right.
Oh, you want it? Yep, sure. Here you go.
This
You
is
know,
the
see, now
bargain
I-
honey over here.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of people that I can refer them to if they still insist I need 5 gallons for making mead, right? I'll push them in certain directions. And then the other flip side about it is I've had local beekeepers that don't want to sell their honey in jars at a market on the weekends call me and ask me about buying their 5-gallon buckets. And I'd be like, yeah, but look, here's the market price for a 5-gallon bucket. I can go buy a 5-gallon bucket from this person or this person for this much money. So I can't pay more than that for your honey because it doesn't make sense for me fiscally. So I told this guy the price. He's like, I'll talk to my wife about it. Never heard from him again. And I apologized. I'm like, look, I know you can make a whole lot more money by selling your honey in jars because that's what I do. But
your opening statement is exactly what you fall back on. That's not my customer, so stop chasing them.
That's not my business model. And you don't have to say
Right.
yes to everything. I had to learn that as a new business person.
And that's completely okay. That's completely okay. That's not your
That's right.
customer.
I get people that want to buy a quart, and I tell them I don't sell honey by the quart. I sell it by the half pint. That's how I sell it, and that's how it goes.
It is hard, Brad, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to be a whore.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like you hate to say no. You know what I'm saying? You just
I hear you.
But
it's not easy.
It goes back to the old concept, the old saying: "Not all business is good business."
Yeah.
Right. Well, what I've found in this, I think, Brad, I think you were telling us a story about this one time, how you eliminated a SKU because you found out that you were selling less of those because you had other sizes. So what I found is I've got 600 bottles, 1 pound bottles in there. But because I started jarring it in a pint and in a quart and in 1 pound, now I'm finding the 1 pounders aren't selling. It's only the pints and the quarts are selling. So either I need to do away with the pound or I got to do away with one of them and figure out what's the best method in that.
Well, I did away with the small one, and it wasn't because I wasn't making more per pound on the small jar. It was just that I was making more cash flow on the larger jar. Like the small one was a half pound, and I found that people were buying a lot of half pound jars when the pound jar was a clearly better value to them. And so to me, it was just that customer that's got to buy the cheapest thing on the table. Now they still buy the cheapest thing on the table, but now it's a 1 pound jar.
I have the same thing, and it perplexes me with the Apis, right? Everybody buys the small pack of Apis, or they'll buy 2 small packs of Apis. And 2 small packs of Apis is $10 cheaper than buying the one that will do 2.5 times what two small packs will. So me,
Yeah.
I'm paying the extra $10, getting the bigger one, putting it in the freezer and saving it for later. And less ordering, less shipping. You know, now people buy what you want to buy, but I just look at it differently.
Bob, I will say this about the small pack of Apis. You did say that to me, and I thought, I don't need that much. I only got 10 hives. I got the small pack of Apis. That is a small pack of Apis. And I think I should have
pretty
listened to
small.
Bob and bought like the big pack of Apis. So,
well, I mean, it does what it says. It does the 52 gallons, but it doesn't take that much per gallon, so it doesn't look like it's much in the
Yeah, it's not much
package.
product for the amount of syrup it makes. I get that pack for my 1,000-liter tote.
Darren, how much
250
sugar did you get out of that small pack of Apis? Tell everybody how much.
I just
200
was looking at
liters.
that the other night. It wasn't
like a
much.
45-gallon drum.
Yeah, it says it makes 52 gallons.
Okay, but if you're a 10 hive backyard beekeeper, that's a lot.
But then you'll buy one. Well, it's not a lot. I mean, depending how much you're feeding them, right? So if you're feeding them in
a fall feeding of 10 colonies would be 50 gallons.
I've already fed 80 pounds and I bought another 100 pounds. And
so that's 90 gallons right there.
Yeah. And I'm going to feed another 100 pounds in the next week before it gets too cold.
So that's,
another principle. Brian, you were talking about the different size containers. The other principle that I learned is option overload. Right?
Yes.
Don't give them too many options. They don't need all those options because they don't know what to take. You kind of have to tell them what to take.
And that's part of why I like to rotate my flavors, right?
2 or 3
rotate
options.
the summer flavor out. And I agree with that as
take
well.
about 3 flavors and that's it.
Yeah. So for our event this weekend, we're not bringing our cinnamon creamed honey. We know that's a really popular one because the apple spice cinnamon is so similar, right? So it's the exact same thing. Now we do have a couple of those just in case someone just wants a just cinnamon one in the cooler. But I agree with you totally. And if someone asks you, I've learned this one too. If someone asks you which is your favorite one, I used to come off with this. That's like asking which one's your favorite child. You can't ask me that. But that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for direction. So, just like you said, I'm going to tell them one of them, and it might be a different one.
Popular one.
Tell them the one you have the most stock of, or the one you want to sell out of.
Usually, it's just the one I just made because I'm passionate about that one. Right.
Did you hear the comment I told Alex last night? I said, well, you can always save that one that doesn't sell that much. And then you make a gift pack of 3 different ones and load that one in there, right?
That's exactly what happens.
Blowout sale.
It's the blowout
Get the variety pack of all the flavors nobody likes.
Yeah. I'm gonna
I like this one flavor, but the only way to get this one flavor is to buy the 3-pack of these 2 other flavors that nobody likes. Don't. That happens all the time.
I used to get the 12 packs of beer like that.
Yeah.
And it'd be like the chocolate porter. You're like, no.
So, Brian, how many products do you sell?
We sell honey. Gosh, how many different honey products do we sell? We sell raw honey. We sell hot honey. We sell espresso infused honey. We have like 5 different creamed honeys. We sell comb honey. We make lip balms. We make lotion bars. We make 5 different salves. We make beeswax candles. We also distill our own essential oils. We grow lavender, peppermint, clary sage, and rosemary. So we'll sell the hydrosols, which is the water product of the distillation process, and some of the essential oils as well. And then there's like little tchotchke kind of things.
So what do you do in your spare time?
I go on live streams, Brad.
What
And bottle honey while you're on the stream, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
You know, that not for nothing, but I remember a guy that came on a few hours ago that said, I'm not going to be able to stay long because I've got some stuff to do and I'm going to be out.
Well, I was working while we're on here, right? I'm
was.
printing off labels. I don't know what you're probably seeing my crotch. I don't know. So I'm carrying around the computer, and I got
He's
more
got a
work
bucket
to
of
do
creamed honey
tomorrow.
in front of him.
Hey,
and a
see,
power
Bob,
drill in his hand.
I was
Yeah.
extracting honey, and I was listening to Brian, and I looked over, and Brian, next thing you know, he's bottling honey and everything. I'm thinking, well, I should just kick in there now, and I thought, no, I'm not doing it. I'll wait until later.
I'd be still packing comb honey if I wasn't so sick of it. I just
So
can't take that for too
Mikey,
long.
we've kind of, as we decided this was a business that we wanted to do, we got serious about thinking about it, and we decided that we didn't think we could make a living off of doing just honey. We decided that we wanted to try to create a little store, right? And we wanted half of our sales to be honey and half of our sales to be other products, and that's a goal that we still shoot for. So my wife makes a lot of the candles. I'll make the lotion bars. They're super easy to make. It's a melt and pour process, but
that's the only one she trusts you with.
Yeah, right. I made some candles the other day, and I was like, all right, give me feedback. Right, tell me what I did wrong so I can do better next
just
time.
Step away from the melter, Brian.
Yeah, because those are things in the winter. I'm gonna have a ton of time to just make a whole lot of inventory for stuff like that, and most of the stuff I make. But she's really taken on the candle thing. So
I wonder if you could find a Charlie Brown Christmas tree mold where the tree is like bent. I bet you'd sell a bajillion of those things.
Brian, how long have you been doing this?
This is my 9th year as a beekeeper. This is my 3rd year doing the market scene. We started our business in October of 2019. We were ready to start doing markets in 2020, and then 2020 happened and everything shut down. And it actually helped because I built up my apiary for another year. So 2021 hit, and people were ready to go out and spend money. So once the market scene hit, we had a great year in 2021.
And how many hives are you running?
2023, any left?
Yeah. So right now I'm at about 50, Mikey. I would say 35 of those were production colonies this year. 15 of those were nukes.
You averaging 100 pounds a hive for honey?
I'd say more like 80.
Okay.
Definitely less than 100.
Okay.
And I do management as well. So I have 3 clients I manage their hives for. I don't know if you guys saw my video. I just started putting bees on the solar farm. That happened last week. So I'm super excited about that. So I have
great. You get to overwinter them out there.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, pretty much. So I have an account with the
pollinator-friendly plants in the solar farm.
Not really, because they're using it as a multi-purpose. So they have a sheep herder in there they have sheep that are just cleaning out all the forest.
Eating the grass.
But outside of the solar area is open space. So
in Ohio, they have to plant a percentage of pollinator plants.
Yeah. They're going to they have seeded it as well, but I just think all the sheep are going to eat it all within the fence. Yeah.
They eat everything.
Yep. Yeah. So I get paid to put hives on that property. I'm putting 20 hives there total, and I put 5 there last week, and next week I'm going to kind of empty out my backyard because I was supposed to put them there in May, and I had all these nukes that I was kind of in a holding pattern. So they were in small boxes in my backyard, and I kept getting the site's not ready for another couple weeks. Site's not ready for another couple weeks. So May turned into October. So I had a whole bunch of colonies I was trying to keep really small in my backyard so I can move them over on a dime's notice. And here we are in October. Now I'm moving them. So that didn't work out so well, but they're paying me for it. So every time I felt frustration, I would remind myself of the check.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
And I was able to get some honey. Like I had most of them in those Mike Palmer 4/4s. So
Yeah.
at some point, some of them got a queen excluder and a 10 frame medium box, and a couple of those made one box for me, and some of them at least made a couple frames. And that was pretty interesting too. I've never done that before, but some of them had like one really strong colony and one that was still building up. So like 4 of the frames on one side were packed full of honey. The other side was empty. So I'd kind of move them around as I go in. It was fun.
Yeah.
But I had to make the best of those. I had to make them produce something instead of just sitting in my backyard.
So, Carl, how many hives do you have?
38, I think, right now. I was at 46 about a month ago, but I've shook out some and I've consolidated some after breaking down my honey supers. Now with the fall flow, I'm kind of making it so that I can build up what I have, because now I have about a month to get where I have to be on poundage in the hives and that.
And where are you located?
Northeast PA, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area.
You're up around Erie?
No, Scranton. I'm on the northeast corner of the state, up towards New York and that.
The other end, up there in the Catskills.
Yeah, I'm up towards the Catskills, up that way. Yeah, more northern than that. So I actually I'm running a little different run now, because I'm processing the honey. It was not as good a year as usual with the goldenrod and the ragweed and that.
And your winter's coming quick.
It could be here next week. You never know.
Yeah, it's getting cold.
Yeah, I mean the weather's looking okay for the next 2 weeks. Some cold nights, but 50s and 60s, and the bees will be flying. So hopefully that's why I'm putting the Pro Suite on the 3-to-1. So hopefully they can pound on. But most of my hives are very well weighted out with their own honey in that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I shouldn't have to feed a ton to get where I want. And then through the winter, I'm going to put some winter boards on and stuff like that. So,
are you doing 80 to 100 pounds a hive?
I don't weigh it, but I'm in a mode right now where I'm going to have them pack on as much as I can get them to pack on.
So are you doing 2-3 finger lift?
No, actually, no.
I lift the hive and.
Nope. I'm going in and I'm visually checking it and looking at how many frames I have, and from there I'm actually feeding from there. Doing a little bit of open feeding, and I'm putting on the top feeders and adding what I have to add, you know. But I'll be honest with a lot of my hives are still brooded up pretty good, which I'm not used to seeing this time of year. So I don't know whether that's an indicator that nature's going to keep it warm here for a little longer, or if I'm screwed. Who knows?
I'm seeing 2 to 3 frames of brood.
I have some that I've got 5 and 6.
Oh, you're
Wow.
way brooded up.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because, like I said, they were bringing in their own food and that, and they were doing their thing. I wasn't manipulating them or anything, so I'm kind of concerned with that. They're on that edge where, like, you know what? Are they going to hatch out and eat home and everything else? So
that should be winter bees.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it. But are these hives going to be too big and going to eat the house out? You know.
Well, that's the Italians.
So
are you doing Italians or Carnolians or?
I have some Buckfast mixed with Italians, and I'm trying to breed the Buckfast back out of them now, because I know what Bob goes through with spicy bees. So
yeah,
I'm trying to get it out. But and I've done a pretty good job over the last 2 years trying to get that out, because they do produce well. But my God, when they get angry, you better be able to run, because they might want to chase you right back to the house. It doesn't matter if you're a mile away, they're going to follow you.
I'm looking deeply into the Caucasian, that Bob Benny bees. They
I
seem
like
to
they
be
say,
pretty
everything
calm.
everything comes in roller coasters, you know. So I'm not going to be jumping ship here or there and everywhere. You know, I like what they're saying about the Caucasians and that, but to be honest with you, you go back, you have the Cornelian, the Italians, the Russians. They're the most common bees and that. And there's nobody in America that really has 100% purebred bees anymore. So
No, they're all mutts.
yeah, so I'm just kind of fluctuating it and watching my mite counts, and I've been pretty successful with my mite counts. So I'm going to keep going the direction I'm going.
So, Brad, what are you running up there in Canada?
Bees.
And that
Bees.
bee
A lot of what generally does well around here is carniolan bees.
Carnolians.
Carniolan. That's really all I know. They winter well and don't eat themselves to death and that kind of stuff. So that's generally what ends up proliferating here. Other genetics come in, but they don't generally take over the normal population of carniolan.
The Italians eat too much for winter for you, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think they do.
Well, we'll know. Ian's
So-
got a bunch of them now, right? Got some Italians.
Well, I
around.
think James brought a bunch of those here too, so we'll see how
So-
they do in the spring.
Brian, what are you doing out there in Colorado?
I got all different kinds of queens. A lot of my apiary was built up on swarms that I caught. So just local, well, it's hard to call all swarms local bees because a lot of those swarms are probably from colonies brought in from other places. So that's how I started building up my apiary. And then this year I got a bunch of carnies from Jose and some VSH virgins from Mark Miller. So I can't really haven't run them enough to give you an opinion of them. You know, I've had some good success with the Carniolans, and those are the ones I'm talking about more because I got those earlier in the season. And some superseded the queens I got and replaced them.
So
it's
are you
kind of a mixed
flooding?
bag.
Are you flooding your area with drones from these bees,
No.
hoping to?
No, not intentionally. Like I let my colonies produce drones, but I live in such a huge metro area. I can't control the genetics here. There's so many bees around me. There's no control that I have. So I could try to put drones out, but it'd probably be a minimal benefit if I was trying to dial in my genetics. I'd need a more isolated space to be able to do something intentional like that. There's so many bees in this area. And before I started catching swarms, I didn't realize how many bee trees were in the Denver area. But there's these huge cottonwood trees in the Denver metro area. So many of them have bees in them. And I wouldn't call them feral bees, right? These are probably mostly bees that have been purchased by beekeepers, and those colonies swarmed, and then they find the trees. So just because it went into a tree doesn't make it feral bees, right? Just so I call mine Rocky Mountain mutts. You know, they're pretty gentle.
Yeah.
I've only requeened twice because of aggressiveness. I don't tolerate aggressiveness at all.
Come hang out, Brian. Come on over. Come on over.
Yeah.
No, actually, I can't
There,
say
brother.
that.
It could
actually
be the altitude. Could be
yeah.
the herbs in the air. I don't know.
Bob, what are you running?
in the air.
Much better.
Yeah.
Much
What
better.
are you running, Bob? What kind of bees
the
are you
herb.
running down there in South Carolina?
Pissy ones.
Nasty.
Pissy?
Bees.
You know, I've over my beekeeping, I've started with Italians and got some Carniolans, got some Saskatraz, and did like everybody. Oh, I'm gonna diversify my apiary. And what I found is it caused more problems than keeping one strain of bees for me. So and that was something that I found this year is that I want to be able to look in my colonies and see them acting similarly. So I did away with, I don't really have carnies anymore. Now my new queens are all my queens that I grafted, right? The ones that that are out there right now. So they're primarily, I would say, Italian or mutts, like everybody says, right? They're mutts. But the thing is that at the beginning of the year, I would look at a Carney hive and I'd be like, shoot, this thing's dying on me. You know, what's going on? Because their cluster was so small.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
my Italians were in double deeps already, and this thing's got a softball sized cluster in it from a Carney. And I'm like, I didn't like that because I couldn't disseminate which one was doing really. Is this colony just doing really well because it's a good colony? Or is that just the Italian trait? Or is this Carney colony small because that's just a Carney trait? Or is it still a bad colony? I couldn't make that judgment call. So to simplify it, we just grafted queens. I replaced queens. And now I know that how they should look when I open the box. They should all be pretty similar. And if they're not, now I know there's an issue in this box that I can address. But if you
Aaron, what are you running?
Bob, are we still on?
What
Yeah,
what is your genetics?
They're just
Italians,
small.
Carnolians, Russians.
They're
What are you
mutts. They're just mutts. I've had Carnolians and Italians. I bought those, but in the end,
Whatever the old guy down the street is running, and he could go down there and take out of the boxes. That's what Darren's got.
I didn't hear that, Carl.
Snatch and grab bees.
Yeah, he'll take them.
So
I think another thing to Mike. I think
everybody's
another thing.
running local stock. Basically, everybody's trying to run their local stock, then maybe add a little bit of genetics into your local stock and try to progress that way. Is that what's happening today?
I don't think so. I
well,
think people are going with what they can deal with, like
we're
whatever.
going with the buzzwords. That's what's happening.
Yeah, like you
Same
said,
thing
Mikey,
that
about
happened
these
a few years ago, right?
Caucasians.
Saskatraz was all the rage, so everybody.
VSH is hip now, right? Everyone
Yeah.
wants VSH queens now.
and
Yeah.
and
Unproven.
the thing
Unproven.
is,
It's marketing.
how
Part of
much
it's
are you
marketing.
really going to diversify if you've got 10 colonies or
Mikey,
VHS is unmarked. It's unproven.
Mikey, question for you. Do you
I like
have
beta
do you
better
have a
than
couple
VHS.
hives in your apiary that you're really happy with?
I run anywhere between 7 and 12 right now. I'm back to 7.
Yeah.
I have my favorite was from Combs Bee Farm over in Marysville, Ohio. He had Carnolian Italian mixed. They were kind of a caramel colored queen. They were kind of a mix, and they seem to do very, very well. When
Well, if you're happy with them,
what?
if you're happy with them, like we did in the spring here, we had a lot of chats about with in your own apiary, and that's what Bob's talking about. He bred his own queens. You know, you could do it on a small scale. I did some of it, and I had some real good experiences with it this year. Brian, I don't know if you did it or not, but we had a lot of chats in the spring about how to go about it and that. And a lot of the guys that are, I don't know how many's on now, but a lot of the guys that were on were right along with it that had good experiences with it. But just try and breed out of your own apiary, just with a 5-frame nuke or something. Just make yourself 6-10 queens and try and build it up yourself. I mean, it's not a bad idea. That's sort of what I'm gearing myself next year. That's what I'm going to try and do. I think I made the statement to Bob. I said, I'm done buying shit. I'm getting tired of it.
Yeah.
Well,
pick a couple hives.
I
that
live in a
have
river bottom.
genetics.
I have 3 rivers within a quarter mile. The closest one is like 400 foot from me. Then to the south of me, I got another river within 100 yards. And then quarter mile to the east of me, I have another river. And my biggest problem is dragonflies and mockingbirds. And I can make splits. I can make queen cells. And they can go out on their mating flights, but they just don't make it back.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the whole thing is, if you try and make 20, and they go out on mating flights, and you get 10 back or 7 back, didn't cost you anything.
Well, I understand that.
You know?
I've got all the gear. This is my 6th year. I'm still relatively new to this.
Yeah, so am I. I'm right there with you. I'm right in that ballpark.
But the last 2 years, I've been building all my queen making materials, and I've got my frames and my cages and my queen clips and all the stuff. And this year was not a very good year on. I made 4 splits and got nothing back.
Oof.
You know, so I'm over 4.
Well, hopefully next year's a better year.
Hopefully.
Keep trying.
Yeah.
Well, here when I make my splits or my queens, it's really before the dragonflies really start. So I don't, I find it if I start trying to do it a little bit later in the year, then I run into those issues.
The spring was horrible, Bob. We had this weird weather thing.
Well, spring for you is like April, May, right?
Yeah.
Like February, March.
Yeah.
So
April, May. Yeah.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah, and it's hard because if you miss the timing and the dragonflies come up out of the river, it's too late because they're gonna snatch every queen they see.
Press the envelope. That's what I did. If you fail, it didn't cost anything. If you're successful, you're lucky.
I'm tell you what, the more I've been keeping bees, the more I've learned. It's definitely a war of attrition, and the numbers game is what matters. I think it's not stated enough that if you want 20 hives, you need to build up to about 35 hives because you're going to lose a percentage. You're going to have those issues where the queen dies. You have to combine, and you've constantly got to have more than what you really want because it's going to work its way back to where you want to be. I mean, that's been.
Well, that's what I was just saying. That's what I was just saying. I mean, I was at 46, and that's the number I wanted to be at. But going into my winter and that, I already know what I was seeing. It was like, this is worthless. You could try, but 95% chance it's not going to work. So I, combine, shake this and that,
But Carl, you also know at the numbers that you have, if you lose a couple in the fall, that's no sweat because you're going to make them back so easily in the spring with all the comb that you've got built out.
Well, you're gonna lose a hive. You're gonna lose 2 hives.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
I've lost.
But you get to a certain
hives
size where there's that attrition that doesn't matter so much anymore because you can bounce back from it so much quicker, right? If you have 20 hives or if you have 30 hives and you go down to 20, it's easy to get back up to 30.
Yeah.
Right?
Or 40.
Yeah.
I live in town. I don't want to do more than 10 or 12. I just don't want to do that.
Well, see, you
there.
lose half of them and you're back to 6. In the spring, you split back to the other.
Yeah, I'm in town. I've got people around me everywhere you look, but I'm in the bottom of the river.
Screw them.
I ain't worried about my neighbors. Trust me. That's the
You
last
worry about
thing
the
I worry
dragonflies.
about. It's just the mockingbirds and the dragonflies.
I'm
And
with
the
you on
weather.
dragonflies.
If the weather doesn't cooperate in the spring to get that early spring split, and then because I try to do natural splits, and I make my nukes up. I got my pro nukes. I got all my boxes. I got everything that everybody does, and they just don't never come back. I'll get them queen cells. They'll be beautiful, big, but they don't return from the mating flight.
I don't think you should let those mockingbirds bother you so much. Just remember, sticks and stones can break your bones, and names will never hurt you. So don't,
What if they're brown thrashers? That's
One
Brown
more shot,
scarf.
I'm done.
When
Oh,
the
thrashers.
dragonflies hatch out of the river, we got dragonflies that fly over here the size of bats. I mean, you know, the dragonflies are really bad coming out of the river.
Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the live stream portion of this evening because it's 10 minutes to 1 here on the East Coast. And, you know, we can hang out like we do, but I'm going to stop the live stream right now. We've got 34 people watching. Appreciate you guys still hanging in and chatting with us. It's been a really good chat tonight. And
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
check out
Great comb
everybody.
honey chat tonight.
So I'm going to stop.
Yeah,
the
that was
stream,
fun.
Thanks,
and
Brad.
See you
Good night.
guys on the next stream.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Nice to meet you, Mikey.
Nice to meet you, Brian.